Sustainability Digital Dialogues with the theme Real Estate Market and an overview of the current global changes. This past 2 days, including today, has been very, very engaging. We've explored virtually what I want to say the value chain of what the real estate industry is all about. We've looked at the area of finance, we've looked at the area of technology, we've certainly often looked at the area of the practice itself, what the innovations we are obviously going to embrace in order to make our deliverables attainable. These are all of the things we've talked about this past 2 days. Today being the third day, we are just going to be wrapping up with two panel sections, one on agility. And I'm glad to announce that the panelists are very much on ground. And then we also look at demand and supply in view so that we can help to understand how the business balances out. My name is Stephen Ipalebo Lawson. For some of you who I'm just meeting for the first time, I see other familiar faces like Carol, like Mr. Abology, and certainly ABCK, we've been having one or two conversations. However, it gives me great delight to recognize the representative of the special advisor to the executive governor of Lagos State on housing. She is Madam Jumoke Adio Moses. She's going to be giving the opening remark on behalf of Mrs. Toke Benson Awoyinka, who is certainly, again, as I mentioned earlier, on the special advisor to the executive governor of Lagos State on housing. And it's important that we have these kinds of government view and position, especially with what Lagos, being the pace-setter state of the country, is all about. So, Jumoke, I will give the microphone to you. Over to you.
Right. Thank you very much, Stephen. I am delighted to be here this afternoon. Unfortunately, the special advisor is not around today. Ms. Toke Benson, she's unavoidably absent. She's had to go, go do some other stuff for the governor. But regardless of that, I mean, I'll be here and I'll be giving the opening remarks for the third day. I understand that it has been a remarkable 2 days so far, and I just hope that today being the third day would crown it up and step it up to, and give it the extra nudge. And having said that, I will just give a brief history of what Lasera is all about, where we are coming from, what it is that it has been before, and what we're going, what we intend to do later in the future. So initially, Lasera was called Lasitrad, and that is the Lagos State Real Estate Transaction Department. It was established by an executive order in 2012, and it was saddled with the responsibility to regulate, monitor, and develop an institutional framework for real estate transaction in the state. And so over the years, the state government has been inundated with complaints on fraudulent and unscrupulous practices of some real estate agents operating in the state who would often use real estate transaction as a medium to defraud and take advantage of unsuspecting tenants and purchasers of properties. So in order to stem these unprofessional practices, the state government created Lasitrad to protect the interest of the general public who desire to buy, sell, or lease properties within the state. As the commercial business center of the nation's investment in infrastructural development, which has resulted in an upsurge in real estate transaction, the Lagos state government is committed to ensuring security and sanity in the real estate sector. And so to this end, some of the responsibility of Lasitrad then included registration of the real estate across, registration of the real estate agents and developments across states, entrenching the principle of fair play, orderly conduct and accountability in the real estate sector, monitoring compliance with the Lagos State Tenancy Law of 2011 and other state legislation on land transactions, also preparing rules and regulations for the practice of estate agents in the state, issuance and renewal of licenses annually, investigation, complaints, and petition against licensed and unlicensed real estate agents practitioners, and imposing sanctions in accordance with the law where necessary. Also organizing stakeholders forum to deliberate on issues and challenges in the sector annually. And so you would agree with me that this and much more is what Lasitrad was set up for. And in February of this year, the governor approved the upgrade of the department, that's LASITRAD, to an agency, and now it is called LASRERA, Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority. And so now it's an autonomous agency. It is independent, And so some of the benefits to the stakeholders would include elimination of unethical real estate agents in the sector. We want to enhance transparency in real estate transactions by this. And so we're simply excited, we're passionate about what LASRERA stands for, and we want LASRERA to be a one-stop shop where everything concerning real estate would come to. And so I am just telling everybody right now, if you have not checked out our website, please go to www.lasrera.com. All the information you need, all the details you need, you will have it there. And if you have any questions, you can contact us. And our numbers, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and our helpline numbers too are there too on the website. And so these are some of the things that we are excited about. And I just hope that all the stakeholders, the developers, the agents, every and each one of us, we would all work together to collaborate and sanitize this industry, which is within our dearly beloved Lagos State. Thank you very much. Mr. Stephen, are you there?
Yes, I am, Jumoke. Thank you so very much, Brother Jumoke, for such insightful presentation on behalf of the Special Advisor to the Executive Governor of Lagos State. One or two points before you leave.
Yes,
I'm glad. Would you want to take that website again? Perhaps you want to spell the words out. So
yes,
that,
please. Yes, please.
So that,
www.lasrera.
How do you spell the LASRERA?
LASRERA, LASRERA, LASRERA. LASRERA, Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority.
Okay, so is that a dot? Is that?
No, it's a .com. It's a .com
okay,
actually.
A .com. Okay, all right. So
yes.
I needed to have that information communicated because apparently
and our helpline. Helpline, yes. Are you ready? Helpline 0901.
Okay.
999.
Okay.
9997.
So 9 in 6 places, if I get that right.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yes, it is. Okay. Then there's a second line. There's a second line 0901.
Okay.
999.
Okay.
9977.
Okay. All right. What's the affinity with the 9 number? Is the 9 the real estate number or something?
We just wanted to make it very unique and easy to remember. So you just say,
yes.
9 in 5 places, or you say 9 in 6 places, and then you just say, so it's just so easy.
Yeah. It brings to mind the word like James Bond 007, real estate 999.
Exactly.
That makes it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
At block 21 at the Secretariat, first floor.
Block 21, the first floor. Okay.
First floor of block 21.
Secretariat.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. We're glad because we know that Lagos State is doing so much in that regard. It is a state that is a pace-setting state. I always say that because a lot of if you travel to some other states, you discover that they are actually, copying. Let me not use the word copying. They're actually adopting the different models that Lagos State is actually rolling out. And that is good because at the end of the day, it is going to be better for the whole nation at large because we need the country to work, as the way we've always imagined it. And I'm glad you've mentioned that the issue with regards to tenancy law, the real estate agency practice, and societal values is because you cannot disconnect the value from the practice itself. And so it's important that one of the major issues I want to believe LASRERA will be looking at has to do with Omonile. because that itself is an impediment even to development, as well as some home ownership, as well as property upgrade. So we need to have all of this addressed while we're taking care of every strata of the society. Is important. And certainly we want to say a big thank you to Lagos State government through your office for partnering with us on Radar 2020. We believe that come 2021, we're going to be seeing more involvement from the Lagos State government, as the case might be.
Yes, absolutely. Right. And we would be delighted.
All right. Thank you so very much, Madam Jumoke Adio Moses from the Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority. She has delivered the opening remark on behalf of the Special Advisor to the Executive Governor of Lagos State on Housing, who is our guest speaker, and that is Mrs. Toke Benson Awoyinka. Please express our well wishes to her, and then we'll see you again by the grace of God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience and staying with us. The program continues. We are supposed to go into another item of the program, but I imagine that as soon as Leave Vent is ready, we are going to take that up. However, I'm more than glad to announce our first. Okay, I think I understand. I've just been told that Stephanie Ayambele is here. She stepped in, right? So we are going. Stephanie, can you hear me? If you can hear me, let me hear your voice.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, we've been ready. We're waiting to be told when to come on. So I and my colleague are available. Thank you.
Okay, and that is Ugochi Igujikwe, I guess.
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you so very much, because I was looking around for you all, because I realized that without you, we cannot go ahead. And now that you are here, we can move ahead. I'm glad you were here all the while. You know, but sometimes with the technology that we are all adopting, as the case is, and it's quite an interesting experience. You know, at the end of the day, nevertheless, we certainly meet up with our objective. So at this point in time, I'm going to be handing over to you the presentation from Leave Vent for the next 10 minutes thereabout. Over to you, Stephanie.
Awesome. Do we have a screen sharing permission?
Yes, we should have screen sharing permission, certainly. So my technical team or guys will basically help out with that. So you just go in. Yeah.
My colleague Ugochi will be starting off, and then as long as we both have screen sharing access, it will be great. Okay.
All right, Stephanie, is there anything you want me to help you out with?
No, I'm fine. Let me just check in with my colleague, because she's meant to take the first part of the presentation. So let me just check in. She's on here, but let me put a call through. So in case I need to just carry on, I'll do that. Please bear with us. Thank you.
Hello, hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Ugochi. Are we good?
Yes, very good.
Okay, awesome. I think they would have given share screen privileges. So when you're ready.
Yes, we have. Because one moment I thought Ugochi was calling my name, because my name is Stephen and yours is Stephanie. So we have to, it's going to be an enjoyable one, nevertheless. So are we ready?
Yes.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay, over to you.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for having us today. We are representing Live Vent. And today I'm going to be sharing my screenshot that they got. Coming to Uber, they saw on the screen that drivers were diverting and they were not picking their customers. And on further probing, they found out that most of the drivers needed cash to pay for fuel. And this enabled them to make decisions that made their business more effective in West Africa and Nigeria. So now you may also want to know, how does Uber relates to construction or to real estate industry? So I'm going to take you through that. So my name is Ugochi Ibojekwe. I'm the head business development for LiveVend. I help construction and real estate developers to make smarter decisions using technology. And today I'm going to be telling us how we can use technology to actually make our lives a lot easier and simpler, really. And there are just three things and three ways we can do this. And these three ways really is, one, you can sell smarter with technology. You can sell your real estate properties wherever they are, whether it's Abuja, Port Harcourt, all over the country. You can do that with data. You can sell smarter with data. You can also build more effectively with information from your data as well. And you can make your procurement easier. So with this now, I'm going to introduce my colleague, Stephanie, for her to carry on with this presentation. She's going to break it down by telling us how the risks that are faced in construction can be minimized using technology. Hello, Stephanie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Gochi. So if you stop sharing your screen, I can then share mine.
Okay.
Thank you. Great. Thank you for that introduction, Gochi. And let me, awesome. Okay, let's share. Great. Okay, so I'm going to take over from Ugochi, and I'm going to start by talking to us about the burden of risk for construction project owners, right? And okay, yes. So the first, thing to note here is when we talk about burden of risk faced by construction project owners is the fact that, while there are multiple stakeholders on any construction project, the burden of risk ultimately falls on the project owner. And so the project owner must, face and meet all challenges head on to ensure delivery of a top quality, safe and profitable project. And as well, most situations we find that the project owner is often the only non-technical construction professional involved, and therefore they must understand their responsibilities, such as project financing, site surveys, warranting plans and specifications, warranting furnished materials, acting on clarifications and changes, interpreting documents, hiring and cooperating with contractors, as well as selling the finished projects, which Ugochi mentioned. But ultimately, they must assume all financial responsibility for the success of the entire project. So with these risks, there are now, there's common challenges that you are faced with as a result of these risks. And what are some of these challenges that, if you're in the sector, you will be familiar with? The first one really is difficulty with oversight and transparency. And, you're making a big investment as a project owner, and there's so many stakeholders with different agendas, if we can say that. But as the project owner, you want to be able to oversee what's going on. And so that's one of the things that makes oversight and transparency difficult, because there's so many moving parts. The next common challenge you'd face as a project owner is incomplete, incorrect, or fragmented documentation. And what I mean by this point is really the fact that, at the end of it, especially if you're building commercial property, at the end of it, you want to be able to know everything that has gone on with this project, how much was spent, any issues that, just the full data involved. But sometimes, depending on how the project is ongoing and any challenges faced, the documentation that is handed over at the end of the project could be incomplete, incorrect, or fragmented, okay? Then another challenge that is common is, delays that slow down construction completion. And that could be for a variety of reasons that, that cause that kind of delay. The other challenge as well that I'd like to share is time and cost. It leads to things like reduced quality of work. So the finished product, the quality might not be as great as intended. Poor cash flow because you're not selling as fast, especially where there's delays. And also delayed revenues as well, because if the project isn't completed or there's issues, it affects selling and it affects revenues, especially if you're in commercial sector for real estate. And lastly, it could lead to negative PR for the project owner or their company. So with all of this, what is the solution? Okay, how do we then solve it? We've just talked about, the challenges faced, the risks. So what is the solution? And the solution really is in having, or using a digital construction monitoring platform. Now, there are many benefits of using such a platform, especially, we've been, as my colleague led with Uber, and it's the story around getting technology more involved in these processes. And so having a digital construction monitoring platform of some sort means that, there are many benefits that exist and will help to protect the owner's investment, especially from an efficiency point of view, which means a few things will happen. One, speed is greatly increased. Two, problems and cost overruns are greatly minimized. And everyone on the job is also held to greater account for the quality of their work. But the greatest benefit of using, a digital construction monitoring platform is that of oversight, because you would have, a centralized depository for all the data that has got, that comes out of this project. And as an owner, or a manager, you can easily keep track of project progress in real time. You can ensure that deadlines are being hit. You can ensure that quality is assured and costs are not running above planned levels. It also will eliminate any cumbersome paper storage, as all information is stored in a cloud, as it's called. So just to conclude, I'd like to introduce you to LiveVend and what LiveVend is. So LiveVend really is a product ecosystem, meaning we've got several products that are technology solutions that are focused on project monitoring as well as easing the procurement process. So I'm just going to share some screenshots, and this is showing you one of our products, LiveVend Pro, which is the main project monitoring app. You can, when you log in, we would assign based on your project, your company, you'd have your details, your account would be set up. And I'm going to share some screenshots, some more screenshots that just give insight into what the app looks like. Okay, so these are the screenshots. And so it just shows insight. So if you have a new project, you would put your project in, you would pick whether it's residential or commercial, it would have your name, and it would show your budgets, that you have for your project. And then this previous screen you've seen before, which is you can always log in. So you can give multiple people access that need to have access, such as maybe if two or more entities or people are the owners of a project. Then there's also the angle where we also provide what we call site information officers to go alongside with this project. So they're helping to record all the data. So when material is procured, it's logged in there. Whatever requests are made is logged in there. How money is being spent, it's all logged in there. So at any point in time, you can open up the app and understand how far your project is progressing. So with that, I'm going to, just a few more screenshots. So you can see here, this photo is showing you, the project budget is showing how much is being spent in terms of, the percentage and the amounts, the date it started, the tasks, how it's being completed. So even your inventory manager as well can use this to record the inventory that's being used and ordered and used. So it's got a variety of uses really. And we don't want to push it too much. So of course you can always get in contact with us to find out a bit more about how this works. But it's just managers, because you want your project to be profitable at the end of the day. Digital monitoring platforms like LiveVend really make a difference. And for future projects as well, the decision making would be much easier because you have data to work with. So that's really it from us. I would just invite Ubi to.
Thank you, everybody. Just like Uber utilized data intelligence to make their business processes, more effective. You all can use data and technology to make your businesses grow and scale, which means you can have your projects in wherever, Abuja, Lagos, across Africa, and with technology, you can just scale your business. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Me?
Yes, I'm here. So I think maybe the network was bad on Ugochi's end, but yes, so that was just a very short presentation. I don't know if we have questions or any further information that you'd like us to provide you with.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say a big thank you because your presentation was very exhaustive. As a matter of fact, you gave us a lot of questions I needed to even ask were obviously answered by the presentations as the case is. Yeah, because a lot of what we've looked at in this regard is the fact that technology itself is here to enable us to deliver solutions, and it's important for companies and organizations to leverage on that kind of platform and see exactly how their business operations and processes, as well as their strategic direction, must factor in the technological element in it in order for them to be able to maximize the resources. And I keep using those words because you better measure of that. At the end of the day, it's about giving value to the market, to the end users, as well as values to your stakeholders, which obviously includes your shareholders at the end of the day. And so anything that impacts the bottom line positively will certainly be a win-win and should be recommended. Thank you so very much from LiveVent. My namesake, she is the CFO for LiveVent, Stephanie Ayamele. Thank you so very much. It was good to have you guys here. And of course, your colleague, Ugochi Bojekwe, who is the head of business development and marketing. Thank you so very much. The program continues with our first panel session. And the panel session obviously is focused on the title, Agility as a Key in Delivering Real Estate Services. For some of you who might just be joining us, and then if you've been on the program all the while, you know that we've gone digital. And so if you want to get details of each of our panelists, the bio of each of our panelists, you can find them on the website. So please kindly just avail yourself of that, and then you get Reader 2020 is always there. The kind of focus or highlight that I always do that I'm very sure the men on this panel will not mind. So I'll first say invite Carol Awibiyi, who is the Group Head Enterprise Project Management for Starling Bank. Hello, Carol, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to see you. As a matter of fact, we were saying off record earlier on that this is the second event that I am anchoring, that you have actually been not just a speaker, but an award recipient as well. That this itself is quite commendable. I mean, you are an agile practitioner and a change leader, and you've had a lot of background even in architectural technology, as well as the Scrum project owner and Prince 2 different project management qualification. And we're glad that with over 15 years experience, we are going to be looking and exploring that on today's panel. I want to also invite Mr. Bolaji Edu, who is the CEO of Bro Property Group, Bro Nigeria. He's one of the foremost experts in this industry. He's a man who has defined himself with so much in terms of deliverables and of course the outlook of his business. Being responsible for business strategy and transformation as well as development, we are going to be seeing exactly how we can expand that conversation in terms of best practices. It's good to see you again, Bolaji. How are you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. And it's good to see you.
Thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to the engagement, as the case might be. Next in line is Mr. Laide Agbola, who is a transformational Nigerian entrepreneur. He's a man who is very passionate, and he communicates impeccably with clear vision for the future is now. And certainly I always would agree with that point, that the future is not tomorrow, it's obviously now. He is the co-founder and the CEO of the Purple Group, and we're looking forward to a lot of those engagements. How are you, Laide?
Thanks for having us.
Great. And then my very good friend, who is all the way here, a man who I've been speaking with all the time before this moment. There is no other person than the CEO of ABCK Tochukwu Architects Limited, Architecture, as a matter of fact, is one aspect of the real estate industry that we can never put in the light that is either seen as a second fiddle, not at all, because every single thing starts from the place of design. And I'm glad that you are here. How are you, Architect Obisike?
Fantastic. Thank you, Stephen. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
All right. So, gentlemen, we know that this session obviously looks at how the benefits of agility as a key strategic element, especially in managing processes, can help to, make a lot of real estate deliverables quite attainable. And then we know that things are changing. We are looking at the fact that we've been looking at one of the topics which I understand is what you call the new work ethics. Work is beginning to take a whole totally different shape. As a matter of fact, the corona pandemic, as a matter of fact, has created a scenario where people are beginning to question what exactly would be the future of work. Must we definitely be in a physical structure for us to be able to deliver? Or can we, as a matter of fact, leverage on an hybrid where we can be able to deal with both the physical presence as well as deal with the online presence and see how we can intertwine all of this in order for us to deliver at the end of the day. And these are some of the issues we're going to be deliberating here today. First and foremost, I would like to start with Carol, because I see she's the only woman that is on the panel, as a matter of fact. And then I'll ask you this, Carol. How exactly, as the fact that agility is agile is one of the practice that is somewhat new in our own climate, as a matter of fact. And how can embracing this agile mindset, this agility strategy, help turn around the real estate industry in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for that question, Stephen. I'll first start with speaking about what exactly Agile is. So Agile is a set of values or principles and practices that speak to how we engage and collaborate to get work done in a faster and more disruptive way, and also in an adaptive way. So it started with its foundations in things like Lean, Six Sigma, than the Toyota production system, which a lot of us are quite familiar with. That was the foundation of what we know as Agile today. But it has evolved into something else that, can be used beyond the software development sphere into other spheres of domains and of business. So when you are speaking of Agile, you're speaking of things like there are four main values, which I will just quickly go over, which speaks to individuals and interactions, above processes and tools. Or it talks about working software, as a measure for success. It talks about being responsive and adaptive to change, and also, responding to change as opposed to following a plan as well. So those are sort of the principles that guide the way we interact when we're speaking of agility. And agility is, first of all, a mindset. It's not just about how exactly we get work done, but how we approach the way work is done, how we collaborate amongst ourselves to be nimble, to be active, and to be adaptive. I'll use an example of Amazon. So Amazon is, there's no argument that it's one of the most profitable companies today. And, the question is, why exactly is Amazon so profitable? And why is it seen as a disruptive company? And that is because of certain principles. It talks about, and those principles speak to customer obsession. They are, customer focused in a very, obsessive manner. An example is, I heard that, there's some suggestion that employees of Amazon will come up with, and Jeff Bezos will put it down because he says it's not customer focused, because it will bring pain to his customer. So, that just speaks to how obsessed they are about meeting the needs of the customer. So that's the first point. Then they're a company that, prioritizes experimentation. They are willing to learn, they are willing to experiment and continue to improve from there. Those are the principles and the bedrock of what agility is. And those are the things that, if embraced in the real estate sector, can make a huge difference in the way we run our businesses and the way our consumers are served. One of the thought leaders in agility, his name is Steve Denning, has brought up some principles which I would just like to share on this platform. The first one is about the law of the teams. And the law of the team speaks to saying that, there is a flow of information. Work is done by a group of people that are cross-functional, that is collaborative, and they work and they deliver work in small batches and in small sprints, which are called iterations. So work is done collaboratively and not, there's no, one-man show or one-man riot squad or one-man performer. This is speaking about how we work together as teams to get work done within not just within the companies, the companies that provide services to real estate, but also along the entire value chain. One of the speakers yesterday spoke about, gave an example about how, he's worked collaboratively across, the entire value chain with people from the business advisory section of real estate, such as Northcourt, and the developer section and the facility manager teams, all working together to focus and deliver a fantastic commercial real estate development. And the whole point starts from being data driven. How do you understand what your customer needs? How are you able to get that information from your customer? Agile speaks to being, also, it also talks about the law of the customer, which says that we need to first understand what our customer needs and give them what they need. Give them what they need faster, give them what they need sooner. Not just about doing business or producing property just because, it makes sense to the bottom line, but kind of taking it from the customer's perspective. So now we understand that, a lot has changed because of the coronavirus, and, income brackets are shrinking for a lot of people, for individuals and companies. As service providers in the real estate industry, we must first of all look to understand what our customer needs at this point in time, whether it's on the commercial real estate side or on the residential real estate side. So I've been working from home since March. And, for someone like me, I have needs like having constant electricity supply, constant data supply. I needed to change the way my workspace was managed or within my home very quickly to be able to do the work from home effectively. So what are the kind of thought processes that suppliers in the value chain are thinking towards this kind of problem that I have as a consumer of this service? That speaks to agility. We need to be able to identify the needs of the customer and quickly solve for those needs to be able to get the kind of benefits that we want to see. Another point is the law of the network, which speaks to having information flowing from top down and bottom up. So the concept of this is to say that, as a business trying to understand what the customer needs, I must get information from everybody within the entire value chain. I must bring the person that is going to sell the property together with the person that would design, together with the person that would develop, and have everybody's views brought in together from the very inception, so that the beauty of that solution is enhanced because I've taken in all the views and information flows both laterally and vertically within the organization. I believe that by doing all these various things, it empowers the suppliers in the value chain of real estate to be able to make the kind of difference that is required. Thank you.
That's great. Because your presentation has quite been very exhaustive, and I know how much in terms of the focus on customers actually been, and that was going to lead me to Bolaji's to Bolaji right now, because I would ask, how can agility in real estate be further described to real estate consumers? Because I know Carol is coming from a financial background, she's coming also from a project management agile background, but you are a practitioner in that part, in this industry. And then you are out there on the field. You deal with strategy, you deal with transformation, and the case might be. How can we further describe, agility to the real estate consumers? Over to you, Mr. Aidu.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. Yes, Brawl is the property services company, which is headquartered in South Africa, which we've been in operation for almost about 50 years. And we've been in operation in Nigeria for about 15 years now. I think that the first thing to say in terms of agility as it relates to real estate is that it's more about the flexibility of both the corporates and also the and also the staff in the company. So from a whereby they can take leases from, or they can rent space from 1 month upwards, rather than the usual 3 or 5 year leases. And also that they can take space from hiring a desk to actually a full-blown office. So it's all about giving the corporate exactly what they need. And I think that this is a great way to provide the services that the corporates want. Also, in relation to agility, it is, as we've all seen, they were all working from home at the moment, and this is not a new concept. The concept of flexible working has been something which has been growing for a number of years, and obviously the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated it a little bit, or accelerated it a lot. And people want the flexibility of being able to work from home or from other offices. And at the same time, when people are in the office, the people want to work more collaboratively. They want breakout space. They want spaces where they can work in private. They want spaces where they can work with others to sort of share ideas and collaborate. So it's looking at the design of offices, and it's also looking at the financial terms and the lease structure of offices as well.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Edu. It's interesting because I was going to do a follow-up to that. However, I think that question can best be addressed by architect ABCK, because two of the words that jumps out to me, or three that jumps out to me in your presentation, focus majorly on flexibility, collaboration, and design. And it's good to know that certainly the real estate industry is waking up to a lot of these different trends and innovation. And so in terms of the practice and in terms of infrastructural development, all of this has to be factored in. But then that leads me to architect Tochukwu, in terms of what are the best approaches to incorporate agile real estate designs and solutions, either as an owner or a developer, because I mean, taking it from Mr. Bolaji's position. Would you want to throw more light to that, architect Tochukwu?
Okay, the best approach is sorry, hold on, please. Okay, fine. You're looking at it in order to talk about the best approaches. We're looking at it's important we go through the transition of the design spaces that we're used to working in from the onset. So you have the traditional design, which is basically specific spaces assigned to specific people. Here you have a fixed environment with very little peer-to-peer interaction. That is, you have the MD's office somewhere else, you design that space somewhere else, and you have the secretary somewhere else. So and all other workers in different portions of the building. So there is this, cut or chasm between pairs. Then you go on to the second type of design space that's always existed, which is also the project-based design. Here, this is specific spaces assigned to specific projects. So you have a more number of people interacting with each other, but there's still barrier walls between people. And finally, you have what is called the activity-based design, which is an unassigned network of spaces, providing choice. In this kind of mobile environment, you have more peer-to-peer interaction. And this is what agility talks about. This is what is called the agile advantage, and in trying to talk about that, I'm going to look at the approaches you're talking about as a designer. You're going to talk about the experiential approach, because today CRO, commercial real estate, focuses on the experience-based approach as opposed to just the space design. So in the experiential approach, you're trying to create an experience for the users of that space as a designer or in real estate for their buildings. Here you're going to have enabled amenities, as yesterday's panel talked a lot about technology. somebody talked about 3D printing and all that, but you'll find out that as for commercial real estate owners, you could have internet, you could have technology enabling that environment. You're talking about augmented virtual reality, that's AVR. You have Internet of Things, you have cloud access control, keyless controls, and all those kind of technology imbibed into that space. Usually, as architects, what we do is that from after or designers designing that space, an agile space, we usually do the stage 1 design, which is basically design drawings, to show the 3Ds and all. Then we move on to the stage 2, which is also construction, called construction documentation, where you have a variety of the architect and allied consultants, structural engineers, service engineers, like the mechanical, electrical engineers. But here in this case, it's also important to invite that information technology personnel, specialist consultants, to come in and look at how can we best suit this environment with technology. Also, in that experiential approach, you're also looking at, as a designer, to be able to infuse certain lifestyle services, and amenity flows, where people, after using the informal attachments to that formal space, where people can meet, there's more peer-to-peer interaction, in that kind of setting. So you're looking to put in those amenity flows, amenity space, as the case may be, in your designs. Then again, there's also the flexible approach, where design consideration for flexible spaces are put as priority. What are we talking about here? We are trying to achieve that open plan space, in order to have that peer-to-peer interaction and great work environment. So we're looking at how flexible can we make it be. We're thinking of, are we going to use steel girders, to span that open plan space? We're looking at, thank you.
That was expressive. Thank you so very much, Architect ABCK. Interesting enough, I think just like what Mr. Edu has actually mentioned, a lot of these thoughts are not necessarily novel in terms of we know that it has to do with packaging different solutions and responding to very, very timely issues. So it's so much of how much the customer must be at the center of everything that you do.
Yes.
And so if in terms of shared amenities, floors, in terms of your design, how are you going to incorporate that to ensure that at least the customer himself or herself finds out that the optimal benefit for them makes a whole lot of sense. At the same time, it is not going to be at a cutthroat budget. Because at the end of the day, whichever the case might be, we will still come down to the bottom line. How much of this will be for the customer, and how much of that is going to also be for the man who is investing in a lot of this structure, because it has to be quite beneficial for him or her. On that note, I would like to ask Mr. Laide Agbolam, because you see, we are looking at this also from the customer's angle. Without the customer, we are not in business. But the customer himself will not provide the solutions that will definitely satisfy its own need. So for the person who is basically into the business, of development, a lot of this has to make a whole lot of financial sense for them. So Laide, I'm going to ask you, what are the upsides to basically investing in commercial and residential real estate spaces with agile services? Because if agility as a mindset, as a tool, as a strategic approach to dealing with operations, to dealing with business and investment, is what every one of us ought to embrace, do you see it, beneficial, especially when it comes to the aspect of real estate investment?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, I'd just like to reintroduce Purple. I'm CEO of Purple. Purple is an indigenous firm, and it's a real estate and lifestyle development company. Some of you that know us well will probably know us as Maryland Mall, which is Purple Maryland now, as rebranded, and our ongoing development, Purple Lekki, which is also a mixed-use development. For us, agility in real estate has been something we've always imbibed and put into everything that we do. The customer obviously comes first, because without that, then there's no commerce in whatever we're doing. So I'd like to go back to 2016 when we opened the Maryland Mall, which is Papa Maryland now. If you look at that period, we were about the first. We were the first to come up with the neighborhood retail center concept that was likely a success from opening at about 70% occupancy. And with that is what we're going with the trend. At that time, a lot of the big developers or other development firms were going with the destination centers, the big massive destination centers, which obviously with the 2016 volatility in the FX markets and now in the current market has seen quite a bit of some challenges. I mean, we've all seen those challenges, but with us at Papa Maryland, we've seen some sort of sustainability and growth and improvement.
Good to look at within an
want to enter into a new market, want to explore a new invention, and they might just want to sort of take some short-term space to sort of see whether this new concept is going to work for them or not. And at the same time, offices, corporates may want the flexibility if they're working on a large project to be able to expand space for that project. And then once that project is finished, those investors that can offer both services to their clients, their customers, which is obviously their tenants, will be the ones that are most successful, both in the medium and also in the long term.
Well, certainly, we are on the same page with regards to the fact that the agile mindset of agile tool or agile as a strategy itself is obviously going to benefit the industry at large. I know that Carol is she's been in you want to call her the prophetess of agility in my own view, because she's actually been up front making a case. She's from the financial background. However, we are here with the real estate focus. There's no doubt of the fact that in terms of human resources, in terms of attracting the best staff you can actually get, obviously agility will definitely give you that kind of opportunity. I know that the COVID-19 pandemic that led to a lockdown between the period of March, April, May, we started realizing that the economy was going down south, and that there's something had to come up in order for us to be able to put like a stopgap. Luckily or fortunately for the country, we were not badly hit by the pandemic, although the lockdown actually had created so much in terms of economic flow. And then yesterday, in reference to what I just mentioned earlier, one of the panelists that actually made a point, and she said that if we had our processes right, because a lot of the resources, human capacity that we find in the real estate industry seems to be imported from abroad. So if we actually had all of our resources basically right here, as a matter of fact, perhaps at the time the economy is beginning to pick up, the lockdown is being eased, we should have been able to pick up fast enough. Because if you have to get a lot of these experts who have to fly in to the country to continue with the project, obviously the protocol in terms of coronavirus management protocols will certainly be adhered to, and there will obviously be processes. So there is a loss in time period. So in my own thought, Carol, you obviously will agree that if we're able to embrace that agility mindset within this industry, and of course the country at large, a lot in terms of the resources will not be a situation we'll find ourselves where we have to be importing the best from abroad. Meanwhile, it's obviously going to improve our productivity, it's going to improve our efficiency, and certainly that is going to, mean more money in the banks for the investors and, of course, the stakeholders. You obviously align with this thought.
Yeah, absolutely, Stephen. Nigeria is blessed with a whole lot of resources, human resources, bright minds, innovators, and thinkers. So as long as we can bandy together, and look at how we can solve these problems that we see around ourselves, using the agile mindset and also using, the some of the strategies that have been spoken about by the panelists here today, I think that would go a long way in the way we do our work and in the way we improve productivity, and also in the way we affect the bottom line. Because, at the end of the day, we can say all we want here, but, the point is this thing has to make money for us. And really, how does it do that when we, make our processes leaner and more effective and much more nimble? We talked about digitization, and that's a whole lot of, the presentation that was given today by LiveVend also speaks about how they've digitized the value chain. By the time you're able to do that, you reduce a whole lot of operational costs that you would have historically had to bear. And some of this is shared because you have a platform that brings everybody together to the table, and everybody can contribute their own portion and also reduce those operational costs that they would have borne as individual.
Hello, Carol. I think we just had a very non-agile happening stuff right now. Okay, you're back. Okay.
I was saying that definitely, I think this is definitely the way to go, because once we are able to reduce our operational costs and, across the entire value chain, that eventually means more value for the consumer, more value for the investor, more value for the stakeholders. So there's more uptake of our services and our products in the real estate value chain once we adopt that approach. Thank you.
Okay, that itself obviously will help practitioners or leaders in their own right, as Laide and of course Bolaji, who obviously are in the forefront. I know that architect Tochukwu, certainly you are also part of that value chain in terms of we know the designers. Tochukwu, with issue of budget and at the same time meeting with project timeline?
Yes, I would say that it's very cost effective in terms of budget, especially for a particular project. Why I would say this is what, and also in also setting up that office, your office space, or you're going to cut down costs totally, the running cost of your office, by trying to utilize it. It's just like surveys have been carried out, and they said that over 100 square feet, 100 square feet of office space can be retained by transforming just one office space into a set of workstations. So it's very possible to cut costs with that. You're cutting costs also with materials used in the real estate. If you're trying to set up that kind of agile environment, you're cutting costs by using partition walls. What kind of materials are used for your barriers, and you could leave it as lean, as open as possible. You could have locations far away from your co-working agile space somewhere else. It's very, very possible for you to get that kind of clientele, option. And as Bolaji said, they're able to lease a particular office space for, they're not staying there for like 10 years, they're not leasing for like 5 years, they're thinking about rentage, and they're able to use to rent for possibly months, weeks, daily, even hours. So it's in terms of cutting down costs. That's very important. The agile advantage is very important. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so very much, Tochukwu. I'm going to come to Laide as a matter of fact, because one of the things you mentioned in your earlier presentations, and please, ladies and gentlemen, in moderating this session, I'm also putting together questions that have been asked me, so that way each of the panelists is responding in order for us to maximize the time that we have, because we should be wrapping up this session any time from now. And then, Laide, one of the things that actually jumped to my mind when you made your presentation, of course, we knew about the fact that the forex volatility several years ago itself impacted. The cash flow and finance and funds have actually been a major determinant, especially in real estate investment. However, we've seen this particular project, which has been very successful, which you actually explored the concept of neighborhood retail. As successful as that project is or was, as the case might be, depending on how you want to view it, there was a lot in terms of deliverables.
Thank you. I want to believe that that's probably one of the reasons why Thinkmint. I want to believe that it's for Popple. We've learned a lot of lessons from what we've done. We keep trying to push the barrier in terms of what is acceptable to the market and what the market requires, and that's a function of several months of research and discussions with various experts and knowledge base, as well as our tenants. If you look at Popple Lekki, for example, some of the lessons that we've learned is that we're creating an open plan area, which has over about 50 concession stands, similar to what you'll find in a Debon, platforms from 3 to 15 square meters, which can be combined or self-isolated for each SMEs to be able to even play within this big retail space, which, as you well know, a lot of Nigerian small businesses, there are quite a lot of Nigerian small businesses that need to obviously be able to showcase their products, which the big centers don't allow them to, because one, they're Nigerian and they all want the international players to be there, and two, they probably cannot even afford those sizes, the 200, the 300 square meter sizes that the big destination centers cut. And the small SME spaces that we've provided in these concession stands are one of the very good places where those people. So it's about dancing to the market and looking at what the market requires and when the market requires, and giving to the market what the market deserves and wants. And that's why Popple is here. If you look at the way and manner in which we have conceptualized entertainment spaces, we've introduced something that has not been seen in retail spaces, which is the introduction of a swimming pool bar. We've introduced in open plan spaces without separating those spaces and allowing for intermingling, because at the end of the day, our tenants or our partners must always make revenues, and we've intermingled revenues from players within the entertainment space with the food guys, and also brought into the space Genesis Cinemas on a 6-screen cinemas backed up by Screen X, which is one of the topmost technologies in the cinema industry. So we're constantly developing and redeveloping, and we're partnering with people or with companies that have that level of ingenuity and agility, because it's not just about building in itself. It's also about the fact that the businesses that you align with and you work with and you partner with must also be agile in themselves and be responding to the market and based on what the market requires. Within the co-working space, if you see our success as Maryland, of course, with COVID, we've seen a downturn, but we've seen an upswing that is going on. Workstation has done an excellent job with our alliance at Maryland Mall. We're gradually coming back out of the woods and going back into the areas where we need to be in terms of occupancies. And what we are developing, and for is very important, is for SMEs, is also for the big players. One thing I have not seen, and I think we need to see, is the gravitation of the big companies, the headquarters of these big companies, to be decentralized. Because at the end of the day, this helps with their own expense line and props up their profit lines and removes a chunk of real estate off the books of these big institutions. And what they need to do is to look for those co-working private office spaces that are nearer to their work, to their staff. Their staff are happier because it's all part of agility. It's not just agility for the real estate owner. It's also the agility for the company in itself to be able to make sure that their staff are happy and they're producing and providing, and they are working in environments that allows them to intermingle with their other minds, because it's not just about me working from home. It's also about me being able to rub minds with my colleagues when I want, how I need them. Because when Carol mentioned earlier, she mentioned the fact that sometimes I struggle with power, sometimes I struggle with my generator, sometimes I struggle with my fiber or my internet. In fact, my internet sometimes messes me up. But you need to work from places with fiber technology. So it goes beyond just technology. Technology is one area, but technology, the asset in itself, the counterparty client in itself, the user, which is the staff of that counterparty, is also a party to all of this agility environment that we're trying to build. And it's a multifunctional and multidimensional approach. And until we all imbibe it and look at it, and the big players need to start decentralizing. Imagine if you have a Stanbic Bank or a Standard Chartered or a GTB decentralizing its head offices, not just beyond branches, but sending those staff to pick up 2, 3, 5-man desk offices in co-working or private office spaces across Lagos, across the country. You can see the effect it will have within the real estate space in itself.
All right.
So being able to have a co-working space as far as Ikorodu, which doesn't exist currently. If you imagine what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to do, there's a lot of opportunities, there's a lot of room for alliances.
For all that. Okay, Laide, I'm going to. I know the crust and the substance of your position is actually well taken. It's important that we're also responding to these new innovations, because whether we like it or not, we were first humans before we became any other thing, before we became customers, before we became clients and all that. So those social angle of it has to be factored in design. And I guess that's what agility itself certainly wants to expand. But I'm going to ask Bolaji as a way of wrapping this session. It's a very key question, because I mean, you run a real estate firm that is proud to say that it has spun out revenue of over $2 million. There's somebody says and asks that there are ongoing projects in Lekki Access, and that the concern is basically with road accessibility and drainage. Is there anything ongoing that we need to be able to address with regards to this, or is basically the fact that perhaps the people who are creating a lot of this development in those axes have not embraced agile mindset? Bolaji, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think that there's two things to sort of consider here. The first thing to consider is that obviously the infrastructure is the infrastructure deficit. It does need to be addressed, and it's something that cannot be addressed solely by property developers or even by the private sector. It's something that needs to be addressed by the government, both at state and at federal level. I think that also the other thing to consider is that if we improve this agility and the flexibility, then what we see in other parts of the world is companies starting to operate on the hub and spoke model. So they may have their hub, which is their head office, which might be in VI or Ikoyi, but they may have spokes on the Lekki corridor, on the mainland, and elsewhere. And this helps to reduce the level of commute and also to reduce the traffic congestion that cities see. So if we have this agile working and flexible working, with offices being built where people live and closer to where people live, then I think that will take the huge pressure off the infrastructure, and will release space in the center of town, Lagos Island, Marina area, Ikoyi, and VI. So I think it has a lot of benefits, both in terms of the city and the environment that people live in, as well as having benefits for developers and property investors, and also for the corporates in the market. So it's a win-win for everyone, in my view.
All right, I want to say a big thank you. Apparently, you've done well for me, especially this panel, which I'm moderating for the first time in this conference. The other ones have just been anchoring, as you guys would have observed. And you've done so well for me in terms of addressing a lot of this issue and question. But because we've basically run out of time, I want to say a big thank you to all of my panelists. To Mr. Bolaji Eju, thank you so very much for joining us. Carol Aribi. I hope I see you again in the usual agile frame for us. The winner.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Because I know that all of already, so I can imagine that obviously reflects design. We look forward to having you all again in the future, as the case might be. I want to say a big thank you. My name remains Stephen Ipadabo Lawson. The conference continues. We want to say thank you one more time on behalf of the organizers. So I'm going to be letting you guys go for now.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
Nice to see you again, Stephen.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, the conference continues. We are going to be going to panel 2. And after this panel 2, we have the award section that is going to be holding on. My presentation, first and foremost, is going to be coming from Homework Development Company. And I want to believe that they are ready for me. They are going to be speaking on experimental, focused on an experimental presentation, especially from the Homework Development Company. And then I'd like to welcome Mr. Chima Meriwa. Mr. Chima, please.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Chima Meriwa, and I'm here to do a very brief presentation on experiential, rather a brief experiential presentation on development in architecture. So with permission, I'll share my screen now. Is that okay?
You can share your screen. Yeah. The technical guys will give you the answers. Please go ahead.
All right. Sorry, hold on. Okay, are we together? Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yes, yes.
Okay, all right, yes. Okay, all right. So like I said earlier, my name is Chima Meriwa, Director of Homework Developments and Properties. That's my email address and Instagram handle. Okay, so just to briefly introduce my company, Homework, we've been in existence since 2008. I mean, this is just homework in figures. We have 126 developments under construction, 105 completed, a start rate of 22. Units starting soon, we have 257, and a success rate we like to see of 100%. All right, so just to take you briefly through a sample of our completed projects. The very first one that I'll talk about is most recently handed over development in Lekki Phase 1. It's off Admiralty. If you know where Evan and Lily Gate and CBC Towers is around the axis. It's a gated development that has 10 terraces of 4 bedrooms each. This was the design. The architecture was supposed to speak to the young contemporary urbane with it had bold masses, and it was supposed to have a contemporary touch, and we like to think that we achieved our set goal. This is finished. Like I said, finished and handed over, fully completed. This is the night view of one of the buildings. So it's two buildings, each containing 5 terraces, and so this is a building that has five of the units. This is a view from the swimming pool. It features a swimming pool and a gym. This is the view of the driveway with the 2 buildings in the middle. Then the next one I want to talk about would be our development in Elegushi. We have 12 units in Elegushi, 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom. Let me take a brief minute to tell you about Homework, a little bit more about Homework. Now, we are developers, but primarily we are architects. We are trained architects. So our foray into development is one of 2 things. One, first of all, to showcase our architecture. Secondly, what better way to change the skyline than design and do your own development yourself versus having to versus the typical developer. And I say this with a lot of respect to my developer colleagues, but lots of them there is a chain between them and the architect. So so they have to say, I want this and this does that. So there is that room for a breakdown in communication / misunderstanding. But in our case, everything is seamless because we are the all in all in this matter, in that we do the architecture and the development. So we know exactly what we set out to achieve from the get-go, and we get that done. So back to Roland Court Television, 12 units of 3-bed and 4-bed. The design is it's something you have to go into it to understand exactly how the 3-bed and 4-bed interact. So like I said, it's fully, well, as at this stage it was about 80% completed. We just meant to put some fenestrations and the flooring and some painting. This is part of the interior. So like I said earlier, because we are architects, we like to pay a lot of attention to every single space, no matter how seemingly innocuous it is. Here, this is the walking closet, and the walking closet got this treatment. How much more the living room or the kitchen or any of the other main living spaces. This is a view of the approach and a shared wall. Topiary, basically just potted plants, but it's a hanging topiary to just give it a green touch basically. And this is in addition to the garden that we have on the interior. This is the master bedroom bathroom. Try to make it as opulent as possible. In this case, this particular client, this is what he requested, because we like to engage with the buyers one-on-one, such that even after you buy, we because like I said, we are architects, so we meet with you and ask if you want to have any particular customization to your design, because we don't want the average buyer to just think he's buying a developed house. Basically, a house that's developed, that was just built with anybody in mind. We want him to feel like he's actually buying his own home. So with that in mind, when we arrange for one-on-one interactive sessions with all of our subscribers, and we work with them, try to redo the interiors to match their particular taste. But all of this, of course, is a function of how early the buyer comes on board. This is an overview of the living room. One of our units where we were also doing the interiors. It's yet incomplete. I'll have shared the completed version. And then this is the hardscape during construction, and this just shows how we try to play with different materials and different coloring, just to get different textures, so that it breaks the monotony of the typical landscape where you just seeing interlocking stones everywhere. There is a bird's eye view of this coming up shortly. Okay, and then I'll just run you through some of our projects in progress. Basically projects that we have under construction, and some in view. The first one that I'll talk about now, this is fresh off the kitchen, so to speak. It's a development in Banana Island. We like to think of it as the twins. They are not two identical units, but then some twins are not all identical. So anyway, so these are two twin fully detached duplexes, waterfront Banana Island. This kind of shows the view of what it looks like from the water. So now when designing this, what our aim wasn't just to provide houses with a view of the water, because the typical person who's building waterfronts, what they want is what they think of is what basically it's almost like they think all they have to do is just in and just so that the occupants of the house can see the pool, or rather can see the water. But that was part of our aim, but that wasn't our total aim. We also wanted to make the house itself a showpiece, a masterpiece, such that anybody who's even by any reason, maybe on a boat or something, is passing the water, will stop and will turn. So we try to make the house an architectural masterpiece, both from inside the development and from the water. We like to think we achieved that to an extent. This view shows the family space where there's an infinity pool at the back. It's a communal space, and this overlooks the water. So what we tried to do was try to have some kind of continuity of elements where the water goes on and it gives this illusory effect via the infinity pool, and you feel like it's flowing directly into the water when you're in the pool or when your eye level is reduced. This is the view of the water from the back of one of the units. Obviously, we intend to build a house that's supposed to be more than a house, but a home, a place of peace, a place of serenity, a place of rest, and that's what we try to capture in this. Now, this is the second unit of the twins. As you can see, we still have the same continuity of elements. On the building itself, we have a waterfall that flows into a pool, that flows into the swimming pool, and that in turn similarly flows into the water. This is an overview, just showing that basically like I said earlier on, we intend to make the house a showpiece from any angle you look at it. It's more than just putting glass and having glass overlooking the water. We thought about things like shading, for instance. So we have some fenestrations that might seem to just be put on for fancy, but the angle of elevation of the sun was calculated and was designed for. So the azimuth and the azimuth of the without getting too technical, the incident angle of the sun rays were all factored in and calculated for and estimated for, which is why we have some fenestration and some sun shading devices that you will see in the facades. Then this brings me to another of our developments that is ongoing right now in Banana Island. We call it the Space. Right now, it's made of two parts. There's a four units of 4-bedroom terraces and 2 units of fully detached 5 bedrooms. Right now, they're at 60% completion. It's also waterfront. What we have, so here we can see the 2 fully detached units facing themselves, and this is the view as seen from the waterfront. It also features a swimming pool, a gym. Each of these units have their own dedicated pools. Then we have a general pool for the 4 terraces and a gym and ample parking. We've provided for parking of 4 cars per unit, and this sits on a total land mass of 2,700 square meters. The next one I want to talk about is it's a development that I actually really like this design. You know how you're not supposed to have a favorite design, but I like this because of some elements that we're introducing, and I'll talk about that as we go on. So this is Aquila. It's in Oniru, just on Palace Road, at the beginning of Palace Road. It's 8 units of maisonettes. And each is 4 bedroom. It has a rooftop terrace, it has a communal space, a swimming pool, and a gym. This is under construction right now. We are at the piling level, but such is the interest in it that we're about 80% subscribed, and it seems like there will be a tendency for us to get oversubscribed on this, or rather, it seems like we'll have more people. So we are apparently working on a part 2 of Aquila. But what we have here, these are the interiors. So again, because we know we kind of have a target market for every development. So for this, what we want is someone who likes the niceties of life, and our ideal for this is a well-traveled person who is an urban contemporary professional who would appreciate or rather who craves for interior spaces that look bigger on the inside. So even our design, we feature a lot of double volumes, and because these are the things that create that psychological illusion of space when you enter a space, and it looks grander than the physical size will indicate. So this is the part. So this is for the spillover on the same Palace Road, and this incidentally is gaining some traction too, because we're about so this one has 8 units, 8 maisonettes, and 2 pent units, and we are about I would say that's about 10 units. So we are about 30% fully subscribed on this one, and so this is just starting. So this is the facade of the other one. We worked closely with with the early bird subscribers on this one, such that a lot of their input to an extent is what dictated the internal spaces. The next one I'll talk about is an apartment complex in Ebute Metta. So now we realize that a lot of people, as much as they like the island, some people had a taste, or rather had a real estate appetite for the mainland, and what we just kept on hearing was nothing on the mainland, nothing on the mainland. Now we have something on the mainland. So these are 17 apartments. They are 1 bed, 2 beds, and 3 beds. And when you hear 17, you might initially get scared, but this development is flanked by 2 roads. So it's accessible by 2 parallel roads. So what we have is we have the 1 beds and 2 beds accessible from one road, and we have the 3 beds from the other road. So this essentially creates a division between the 1 bed and 2 beds and the 3 beds. And this is important in real estate because the lifestyle of a 3-bed apartment residence is very different from the lifestyle of a 1-bed apartment residence. Talking about when they will come back home, when they will even ambient noise made and all of that. So this is the extra facet that we at Homework try to integrate in our designs, basically to just show that behind the development, behind the fact that we are in the business of property development, which is basically to develop property and sale, but behind that there is a think tank involved, that there is an active thinking machinery behind every development that you have. And I say this not meaning to blow our trumpets, but we try our best. So our next development I'll talk about now will be Donville Apartments 2. Now we have a development that we just completed. It's on Orchid Road off just after the Chevron toll. It sits on 6,700 square meters. It's 32 terraces and 18 flats. The flats are fully completed and occupied. The terraces are about 80% occupied, 80% completed, and in the next 3 weeks to 1 month, it will be fully complete. However, it seemed like where the flats were fully completed, we were still having people that wanted to buy. So we have a phase 2 of the Double Apartments. So this is on that same Lafiaji road. That same Orchid Road at Lafiaji, and it's okay. So we have 1 bed and 2 beds, and the 1 beds are on the lower level, the 2 beds are on the higher levels, and we have some 1 beds that are designed as lofts, where we have double volume spaces, as you can see in this 3D. We have a buyer who specifically likes this one and requested for 2 of this. And the next I'll talk about will be an upcoming development in Lekki phase 1. We call it the Curve. So it's made of it's all 2 beds, but 2 beds with a variety in design. So we have 2-bed flats and 2-bed maisonettes. The maisonette, obviously, as I'm sure most of us are aware, it's like a flat that has a lower level and a higher level. So what we try to do is we try to have a very contemporary design. There's a rooftop terrace and a rooftop bar. There's a gym at the rooftop too. So ground floor is parking and 2 flats. First floor 2 flats, then second and third floor are the maisonettes. And this is designed to cater to people who first of all seek who have an investment appetite for low capacity units in Lekki phase 1. This is in the heart of Lekki phase 1. It's how do I put it? It's just off Admiralty before you get to the bridge. So it's very, very location wise, I think it's perfect. And design wise too, I think it's as close to perfection as can be. Then this is one of our commercial developments coming up. We call it Malvin Mall. It features about 900 square meters of retail space. It's coming up on Admiralty, directly on Admiralty. It spans 5 floors. So the total space is all carved up, come up to about 32 modules. But of course, we have some subscribers. Like we have someone now who has paid for an entire floor, and he intends to just merge everything and have a big open plan space with section in the middle. What we intend to do with this design is we intend to change the skyline of Lekki phase 1, particularly particularly on Admiralty Way. So the architecture is intended to be bold and provocative, but at the same time extremely modern. So this is one of the approaches of the Malvi Mall on Admiralty Lekki 1. Then the last I'll talk about is at Bera Estate. So now it's 10 two-bed apartments running on 3 floors. So two on the ground floor, 2 parking on the ground floor, then first floor 4 units, second floor 4 units. They're actually luxury two-bed apartments. I didn't want to make this presentation for run too long, or I would have shown all the plans. But they are luxurious, and right now they're about 60% sold out, and we are at the foundation level, foundation slash first ground floor level. So okay, then these are some of the interiors. So with that, I've come to the end of this presentation. These are our contacts. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you seek clarifications on any of our developments. Now a lot of people come with 3Ds, and they show 3Ds, and the 3Ds look fancy, and a lot of times the interiors do not tally with the 3Ds. So what I have done as an extra is, if you permit me, I will just share sorry, excuse me, one of the interiors of one of our completed units. All right.
Hello, Chima.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you wanted to showcase one more before when you said
yes, but can you see that?
Well, yeah, I think we can see. Is it a video?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Can you see it?
No, we can't see the video. The video is not playing.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Hold on, please. Hold on. Sorry. Okay. So let me stop the share and restart the share. Please hold on.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Can you see now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'll start now.
All right, Chima. I think we've seen enough.
Okay. Incidentally, this with that we come.
That was the end.
Yes. Yes, it was.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much. I mean, this is a wonderful presentation.
My pleasure.
Indeed, you actually mentioned it as experiential. I was experiencing even the rooms and the beautiful architecture, and I see it as development as art, not just the well. It's a good thing that you've been able to put together a team of both architects, conceptualizers, people who actually can come up with some of this impressive idea. And I think we need a lot of these artistic, expressive buildings to not just to color up our skyline, but also to see exactly how architecture can play in the role of functionality, especially with the future of work and then the new age that we've just gotten into as necessitated by the digital revolution. And so I want to say a big thank you to Homework.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a short video, and after that, we're going into our next panel session. And I know my panelists are definitely ready. Mr. Olawale Ayinlara, the MDC of Landway Investment, is in the house. And then Mr. Oladipo Akinton, MD, CEO of Drag Rock Real Estate. The very good gentleman who is the head of marketing and corporate communications of Alpha Meat Group, Olusegun Ogunyoye. We are going to be coming in to have this panel session immediately after this video. Ladies and gentlemen,
this happens, you know, you're not the first person.
I just saw you are in the communication field, so you exactly know how some of this goes. But it's interesting to have you from Alpha Meat. Yesterday and the Monday, we had your boss, the MD, Engineer Femi, who was very gracious with his time and committed to it. Apparently, you people are one of our sponsors. And as sponsors, you keep to your words because we know that it has to do with image. It has to do with integrity and credibility. I want to say a big thank you to you guys on behalf of Thinkmint and of course your boss as well. I just want to find out if Landway Investment is here. Is Mr. Wale here?
Landway Investment is here. My name is Adeshola Bello. I am representing Mr. Wale Ayinlara. He had to run for an urgent meeting.
Adeshola Bello. I almost jumped out of my seat right now because I was hoping to hear a male voice. And when I heard the female voice, I asked myself, what exactly is going on? But it's a good thing to have you here representing the MD CEO. I'm very sure that due to some of the time management that we've had so far, as a result of technical issues here and there, perhaps he would have gone to. But it was very gracious of him to have nominated you to come down and represent it. Please, what's your title one more time?
ED, Business Development.
Oh, great. EDBD, which basically helps me as a matter of fact, because apparently I've just had 2 or 3 gentlemen that are supposed to be on ground here. But what I see now is that you have created a balance. Only you one amongst 2 men. That is quite impressive. So that is the power of a woman. I oftentimes tell people that women will definitely balance any equations that you find out as a matter of fact. Now, because of that, I'm going to obviously start off with you, Shola, because we're looking at the real estate development in Nigeria and the effect of COVID-19 pandemic, the demand and the supply side. Earlier on, we've looked at agility as a strategic approach in maximizing resources, especially when it has to do with the real estate engagements and projects. And then we've actually seen a wonderful presentation that actually has looked at integrating art functionality as well as design in order for us to be able to make sure that the customer and the environment definitely will work in alignment. Now we're looking at the aspect of the impact of COVID, the demand and supply. Certainly since for the past 5 months, even myself, I've not been able to work for a while because we're not going to the studio. We had to do everything we needed to do after a few period of time from the Zoom platform or online platform. So COVID itself impacted even in our own industry. As being a public relations consultant and a corporate master of ceremony, I would say that in my own view. However, for the real estate industry, we need to know exactly how are the real estate practitioners taking advantage of what are the benefits or the negatives as the case is. And I'm going to look at the area of shift in capital allocations, especially when it has to do with real estate. So as a result of the COVID-19, we've seen the shift in capital allocations to real estate. you want to share with us, especially with one of your brand that is well known in the industry. You want to share with us exactly how you guys have been using or responding to this particular incident.
Thank you for that question. So particularly with the real estate sector and COVID, what we find that has happened was that there's been a lot of demand within the sector when it comes to consumers. People are beginning to shift their investment to real estate because they find it to be more secure rather than, focusing on stock exchange and other markets. So there's been an increase of demand in the sector, but then vice versa, when you're talking about the developer, we have to also look at meeting those demands. So from construction to availability of land. So there's a lot of capital that is required to be able to meet the demands of the consumer. So within, looking at the market and the capital allocation, what we have to do is look at, accessibility of funding, looking at other resources that, that we can apply to ensuring that we have the right required capital to be able to meet the demands in construction and, like I said, and land acquisition. So some of the strategies that some people in the industry using is to look at their financials and look at ways to restructure their loans. Also look at other avenues to access funding. So not necessarily just looking at the bank as well, to get access to funding, but looking at other sectors. And then outside of the banking sector, you have other financial institutions that also looking at investments within the real estate sector. So looking at those in the tech finance industry as well. And then even people are also looking for sort of like a return on their investment. So you have platforms that are also putting forward real estate portfolio as an avenue to invest. So you don't necessarily have to have a house or land, but then you can buy into an asset that is real estate based and you're able to, get returns on that. But for us, particularly at Landway, our focus has been, trying to meet the demand of our consumer and, trying to acquire more property and then, also try to build within those estates to ensure that we meet the demand. So looking at how to get, supply of raw materials in, with the FX, we know what FX is saying right now. Challenges with raw materials and all of those things are things that we have to factor in because these are, realities that we have to deal with one way or the other. So that really has been our own perspective, is to ensure that regardless of the challenges that COVID has presented to us, we want to take advantage of, the resources that we have and try to adapt to ensure that we take advantage of all the demand that we have at the moment.
Thank you very much, Shola. That was put excellently because whether we like it or not, we have to keep going on. I think it was a wise man who once said that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, and then you must keep on going and walking. So we will have to overcome and defeat coronavirus, regardless of whatever negative impact it's brought about. And that your question basically will lead me to Dipo, because we also are looking at the real estate industry post COVID-19. And I would like to find out what your own thoughts are, especially with area of demand structural trends that we obviously impact this particular industry. So are we looking at trends that are going to be in the positives, especially with regards to the demand?
Okay, thank you, Stephen, and special thank you to Business Day and the Thinkmint group for organizing this event. Okay, looking at the demand and the supply trend for real estate in Nigeria post-COVID, it's critical for us to understand that the demand for real estate in Nigeria is largely driven by the population. Our population is growing very fast, and that's a very key element in the determinant of the demand structure. But at the same time, it's also affected by the capacity to buy. And so I'm going to look at it from two perspectives, from the residential perspective and the commercial perspective of real estate. But before then, let me also lay a background to the fact that we should expect more of the deficit in housing at this period post-COVID, because some people have lost their job, the economic power is low on one side, so the gap of the deficit, we see grow bigger. At the same time, the real estate portfolio is also growing bigger because a lot of funds are moving from other forms of investment into real estate, which was not a major focus before. So looking at it from a residential perspective, people will always still want to buy residential houses. Owning a home in Nigeria is more of a cultural thing. As people advance and grow and they gain more economic power, they want to own their own homes. And that will not change. So we are still going to have a level of increased demand in the residential houses. And on the residential houses now, there will also be a lot of focus increase in demand for smaller unit of housing. The last presentation, the developer was showcasing a lot of apartments and the 2 bedrooms and the 1 bedroom they are currently developing. So there's going to be more demand for that, especially because the real estate is attracting investors more at this time. Yeah. And they're looking at where to put the money and people want to easily rent it out. And with the advent of the new millennium, their interest is just to get a little space, nice space, and live there. So there'll be a lot of demand for low houses, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and the likes. But these houses, the demand will change a little bit because there are going to be preferences. Preferences in respect of having some basic infrastructure. Because of the advent of work from home, many organizations will still work from home. So people are going to start looking at houses that have a fast speed internet, houses that have 24-hour power system, houses that have the large windows, and you can have good use of lighting during the day. Those will be the demand. Then also still on the residential aspect, I want to look at the fact that there will be a lot of increased demand in new developing areas. New developing areas where people can buy land and build their own houses to their taste and budgets. New developing areas where infrastructures are provided. New developing areas that still have easy access to the main town and the main city. This will especially attract a lot of the Nigerians in diaspora because there's a percentage of the foreign direct investment that come into Nigeria every day through real estate directly for Nigerians in the diaspora. And areas like this where package will be an attraction for them. Now going to the commercial space. I won't rule out the possibility of increased demand in office space and the likes. It may go there a little bit, but for the fact that we are going to experience, organizations who want to grow their culture, they want to collaborate, and because of our basic infrastructure deficit in Nigeria, it may not be affected too much on the retail space for businesses. But there's an aspect which I also want us to look at as developers. The e-commerce industry is growing. It's going to affect the real estate in a positive way. Right now, people from their phone can make order and order for a lot of things and it's delivered to them. So there's going to be increase in demand for warehouses in a location that is easily accessible, where people can store their goods and can easily move it down from that point to the final demand. So these are the trends I see post-COVID in the demand structure for real estate. Thank you.
Sure, right. I see that. As a matter of fact, one of the points you raised up had to do with the issue of deficit. And that is rather scary because a lot of people have lost their jobs, as the case is. However, I'm going to be coming to you with a second question. But before then, let me reach out to Chesson. Chesson himself, I mean, you are overseeing the communication strategy of one of Nigeria's leading real estate brands, as the case is. I would like to find out from you, because I mean, we know COVID-19 has impacted on every single one of us, positively, negatively, depending on what side of the divide you belong to. My question basically would be, are there real estate products presently that are in high demand, even at this point that the COVID, has taken its own toll?
All right. Let me say a very big thank you to Thinkmint and the Business Day team for this opportunity to speak here today. Basically, I'll pick it up from where Jipo dropped it before I get to the fact that what are there specific real estate types of products that people are looking at today. First, we've all talked about it. Few weeks ago, the National Bureau of Statistics released a report that over 42% or about 42% of Nigerians have lost their job due to COVID. 79% of that, have also of Nigerians, as the case is, have also, experienced one form of reduced earning or, pretty much the other. Also, we find out that a few weeks ago again, the same MBS released inflation rate in Nigeria, which is currently fluctuating between 12 and 13%. That's massive. And we have seen a lot of issues around devaluation, like Shola rightly said, of the Naira. We have also seen issues around the bank and a number of other things around interest rates, petrol price or fuel price increase, energy price increase. So what is happening is that there is the disposable income, in the pockets of real, customers have shrunk. And the thing is this: if you walk into a grocery store now and you just take a very, very quick survey of what is happening there, you will see that there is a gradual shift to second-tier brands. So if you used to buy a particular brand of soap before, you move to a second-tier, brand of soap and a number of other things. And that is also not something that we are not seeing in the real estate industry. That's the gloom part of it. But the gloom part of it is what Shola actually picked up. We spoke about all these things, inflation and a number of other things like that, which tells you that pretty much you are losing almost 13% of your savings that you put in a bank account or in a money market fund. Money market fund today is returning between 4% and 5%. So the only guaranteed asset class that seems to work in tandem with inflation is actually real estate. So for us, working in this industry over time and, pivoting into development over the past 4 to 5 years, what I would say is the real demand now is accessibility. Now, there are issues around, what kind of house should I buy? A 2-bedroom flat? Should I buy a 3-bedroom flat? Either I'm buying for investment or I'm buying for. But at the end of the day, it is people that will still live in these homes or we still live in these homes. So you'll find out that, it is not a function of the type of building. It is how the developer has created, some level of financial engineering that makes, stepping into the real estate ownership ladder very easy. I tell my team this a lot of time. I said, we all know that if you need to buy some kind of cars, maybe a 9 million naira will buy you a salon car. But you don't have that money saved somewhere. But if you have an opportunity to buy, the same car for 13 million, 14 million naira and pay over 5 years or 4 years, you are most likely, able to take it. So it is not about the fact that you want to buy a car. It is the fact that accessibility has been enabled by the car seller. And I think the same thing applies, to real estate at this point. There will always be demand for real estate. Either from an investment perspective, real estate at the end of the day is one of the basic needs of man. So there will always be demand for real estate. What we need to begin to check is what I usually call, ability to pay. All right. So willingness to pay, ability to pay is what is effective demand. And ability to pay today is a function of how accessible you have made, payment terms, you have made, stepping into the ladder. And pretty much that's what we have been trying to do, at AlphaMate. So you will see us going into still selling the same pretty much type of product or category of products in the market, but we have worked something around, accessibility. So it's no longer affordability, it is accessibility. And there's another side of it, because we are talking about demand and supply. So I'll quickly take it to the rental space. Because the truth of the matter is that with the current situation, even though everybody knows that real estate is the only asset class that help you edge against, risk of inflation and every other thing like that. The truth of the matter is that how many people can really pull out the kind of money that, we are asking for today. And it's not also the fault of developer. We can go into another, an entirely different, discussion about housing finance and a number of other things from the developer perspective. So even rentals, we have seen a lot of default in rentals. Trust me, from the high end, the Ikoyi, right to the downside, of Ajegunle and Songo, there is a lot of default in the center because people are not able also to lay their hands on, cash. And we have also played in that space because we also see a lot of demand in, what you would call some form of rent for less, where people can now begin to, pay their rent on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis. And there is massive demand, for that, because it's easier for me to plug in my monthly rent into my salary, just deduct it at the end
of the customer. That itself will even help in terms of actually even creating a constant flow of cash for the landlords or the developers or the owners. Because the one you have to look for rent for 2 million, 3 million at a go at the end of the year or the beginning of the year itself. Apparently, I guess that COVID-19's impact has registered that on our mind. But I'm going to be coming back to you, Sheson. I would like to ask Shola, certainly, what factors can be implemented in scalable supply strategies in reaching the consumers? I don't know if you have that question clear. I'll take that again. What factors can be implemented in providing scalable supply strategies in reaching the consumer? So apparently you are also speaking from the side of the developer or the home provider or the service provider. Over to you, Shola.
Okay, so I'll be speaking from the side of the developer, because that's what we do. In terms of, trying to, come up with strategies to be able to reach the consumer, I think the last person who spoke, about that, Mr. Shis also spoke about, accessibility to funding, which we find that that's like the most critical aspect of gaining access to consumers, because they need to be able to afford your products, whether it be in building or land, so that's a very big factor. And so what different developers have come to do is to do payment plans. So to break that, the amount to acquire property into payment plan over 12 months, 18 months. Ours goes as far as 24 months. And then also accessibility to, mortgage companies. So being able to liaise with, between the consumer and mortgage companies to provide that funding that they need. Because you rightly said that, the demand is not a question at the moment, but then it's now the ability for the consumer to be able to afford, the product, so that's one of the things that we've tried to do to bridge a gap, to ensure that we have a payment plan structure, and also to provide the avenue for people to buy with mortgage. And then the other, avenues as well that we know that different people are coming up with, you have the crowdfunding model, which we have also applied, where you're trying to invest into real estate sector, but you don't necessarily have the bulk money to purchase maybe a 300 square meter land or maybe a home. So what you do is, you're able to come together with a group of friends or family members to be able to put your money together to acquire the property. So we call ours crowd ownership. So crowd ownership essentially gives you the opportunity to start investing now, because we're finding that, you also have to consider the time value of money. So if right now, a consumer or potential client has maybe say 5 million and saying, well, what can 5 million do for me? You can't buy me a 1-bedroom apartment. But then with 5 million, buy you a 1-bedroom apartment in a year, even in 6 months. We know, he also mentioned what inflation, is at the moment. So thinking about time value of money and then encouraging people to invest now with the little they have, so that they don't fall outside that bracket eventually, because of inflation and other factors. So they're able to tie in a property with little or no amount. So you're starting from as little as buying 10 square meters, and you can increase your property over time. So your investment. So if you start with 10 square meters this month, you pay another 10, for another 10 square meters, and you start to accumulate that. And over time, you're able to build up to maybe half a plot or, a full plot. So giving people opportunity, because we find that it's only a certain class that can afford property in Lagos, if we're even just talking about Lagos. So if you're maybe looking at the middle class and the upper middle class, but then we want to reach out to people below that, and even young professionals as well. They are earning a monthly salary. What can they do with the little savings that they have to invest now, so that, over time they can build up their property portfolio? So that's a major factor. So that's when it comes to looking at the consumer's access to the, the supply. So in terms of land or in terms of, building. But then also as a developer, we also have the issue of, materials that you need to construct, your building. For those that are building, because there's been a lot of challenge with the borders closed, FX rates and all of those things, so having, a strategy that ensures that you have a flow, of the materials that you need when you need it. Looking at avenues that you can even do what we're calling, backward reintegration, to ensure that even you are now start manufacturing when you need to ensure that you have the products and the materials that you need to build. So just looking across the board, but when it comes to consumer, I think financing and ability to be able to afford, investment in the real estate sector is like one of the major things that can affect supply. So that's the area that we have tried to tackle. But then in other area, looking from a developer's point of view, to ensure that you're able to actually deliver when people key into your estate or your product, you are also able to deliver at the time that you promise. So ensuring that the supply chain within that sector, you're able to deal with any issue that comes up. So that's our own strategy.
Well, that's a very good one. Those strategies, I'm very sure a lot of your competition, of course, these are some of the benefits of having forums of this nature. We get to understand exactly how you are thinking, but it's also for the good of the industry and then for the greater benefit of the consumer. But like I always say, it's a win-win scenario because the developer needs the consumer, and the consumer needs the developers. The fact that you've been able to create a situation or a scenario that has helped in terms of ease of payment. I think it was Session who actually made mention of that. It's not so much about accessibility alone, it's also about ability, the capability that for you to be able to say, okay, this is so much it entails and this is so much I'm able to contribute towards that. So as long as we've been able to, create some kind of strategy that looks at a consistent way of ensuring that the flow is still consistent, that itself is a win-win scenario for me. And I'll say thank you so very much, Shola, for that from Landway. I'm going to ask Dikbo. Dikbo, I mean, you know that in this industry, every one of us who are on the side of the supply, especially when we are dealing as developers or wholesalers or retailers, we know certainly that COVID-19 is here. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but it's going to be with us for quite a long time because, after the vaccine is being developed and implemented or deployed, you and I know that these issues are going to become another health matter, just as we have typhoid or we have HIV/AIDS and all of that. But for us as players in this industry, how best, in my own opinion, do we position ourselves in order to ensure that we are not negatively impacted, obviously, as from the demand side? Over to you, Dipo.
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen. And hello, can you hear me? Okay, yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And now we've been able to establish it that real estate is something that has come to stay. And it's an industry that we still find its way out of this situation. So in terms of positioning, I'd like to reiterate what one of the speakers said on the first day, Mr. Deshoku Adeyinka, who happens to actually be my boss. I worked with him for over a decade, and I can give a kudos to him based on everything I know right now in the industry. And I started out 3 years ago. He said that real estate has always been a part of the meal on the table. Talking about the investment perspective, it's always been a part of the meal. But right now we need to make it like a big pie on the table. How do I mean? So we all have various investment schemes. My organization, for example, during the COVID period, we had to create special investment scheme in real estate for people that have excess fund. And we created a means of investment without them buying a property, helping them put their money to use as a form of investment into real estate, into our projects, and they can get their returns. So many organizations have a private arrangement on this investment scheme. So I feel that for developers, we should engage more and see how we can strengthen the rates and have a lot of real estate investment trusts that is structured by SEC and regulated. That way we can access so much capital and be able to attract it and put it into our projects. That way we can also help us to be able to be more flexible. We offer various flexible payment options. We offer payment options as much as 24 months to 36 months on some of our projects. But that may not be sufficient. It can be sufficient for some category of people that have some fixed income and the likes. But in providing housing for a bit of the lower income, no matter how low you bring it, it's still not very efficient for them to participate, except you broker some mortgages and the likes. But if you have a better way of funding or financing, we are able to offer more creative solutions. I've said that we should look into how we can attract more creative funding. Then number two, I will also say that we should also explore the use of technology. I like the earlier presentation that was done on how we can leverage on technology to manage our construction. If you can leverage on all of this, we can reduce wastage, we can be more efficient, we can actually plan. And I'll sum it up with the issue of agility that was discussed earlier on in the previous session. If we organize more of programs like this and we look at what the key issues are for us in the real estate industry and the possible solutions, and we come up with action points that we can go ahead to engage every stakeholders, engage the government, engage the developer, gradually we can start solving this problem. We have the population, which is large, which is interesting, and which is growing. At the same time, the buyer power is limited. It's just a circle of people that keep buying over and over and over again. So it makes the investment aspect keep growing. But at the bottom line, a lot of people are still unable to access their property. Even when you offer some clear mortgage system, some people can't access it because they don't work in an organized setting where their income can be properly captured. And they may be able to afford it if they structure it, but because they are not under any corporate system that capture their income and regulate it, it's difficult for them to participate in some of these mortgages that are available. So to sum this up, I would say that we can position ourselves as developers if we look at our source of funding. We actually engage and be able to provide more of the rate structure through the SEC. Then number two, we leverage on technology and become agile. Then we can gradually position for post-COVID era. Thank you.
Pardon me. The beautiful thing with your position, it seems that we all seem to be aligning with so much of mindset, the way we are all discussing, especially with my panelists. The interesting thing for me, because I have a background in public relations as well as I have a background in engineering. For some people, might find that quite, quizzical. But as a corporate master of ceremony and a TV host, I host the NTA Business Matter TV series. I've come to have the privilege of having access to a lot of thought leadership. But one of the things that I find quite missing is the fact that a lot of times we seem not to have a roadmap that will certainly help any particular industry to measure progress. Because even if in project we have monitoring, we have those monitoring aspect of project management to see exactly how far we are going or what we are doing. Yet we don't seem to have it as an industry-wide campaign. So thanking people like Thinkmint Nigeria for putting together this kind of forum for us to have an exchange of mind really definitely helps. Because some of the thoughts you've just shared, yourself, Shola, and certainly Chesson, and my different speakers and panelists earlier on, helps me to understand that because COVID-19 is still going to be very much on ground, there is a need for an industry-wide kind of, will I call it conclave, in order to see how do we create a much more viral, much more dynamic industry for the next 4-5 years. So by 2025, where should the real estate industry be at after this COVID issue has impacted us? Anyway, saying that, and I'd like us to, because we'll still have a session where we'll obviously have a free flow and engage ourselves with some of these thoughts. And perhaps during that session, I might want to invite some other panelists who are still on ground to also join us with their insights and mind, because we want to maximize this moment. Anyway, I will first and foremost want to call on Chesson to actually respond to my last question before I go in for a general round of questions. And that is, how will the current growth in corporate outsourcing affect the real estate services? Chesson?
All right. I'm lucky to work at different levels, real estate development, facilities management, healthcare management, property management, and a number of other things. And, pretty much I have seen, things in different dimensions, from this perspective. I like to liken what is currently happening in the service industry, in real estate, to what happens to us in marketing, right? Immediately there is an issue. The first place you want to cut cost is the marketing. The same thing, for the facilities managers and the property managers at this time. Oh, you guys are just cost centers, and so on and so forth. And we've seen that the, arrival, or the outset or the outbreak of the pandemic caused definitely some panic. The lockdown wasn't really kind on businesses and a number of other things like that. So what you see is that, the initial session spoke about agile spaces. And what are we talking about when we're talking about agile spaces? It just means that, the pie is shrinking, all right? And because the pie is shrinking, the opportunities also in the service area, are also shrinking. But how do I think that corporate outsourcing, all right, is going to affect real estate services? So let us leave the gloom side. Let us move to the bloom side. Now, one thing that those who are looking at, corporate outsourcing of their real estate services needs to look at basically now, that is help them basically in three ways. The first is economy of scale. So everybody is shouting about cost, right? If you employ a facilities manager, you buy, diesel yourself, buy tissue papers yourself, and all the consumables and so on and so forth. Now you can imagine if there is a company at the back end who have access to buy tissue paper, or on a massive scale and spread it across to all its sites or its location. Now, the first thing you are able to do that, you are able to achieve some economy of scale that is, lower than what you would have been spending if you are the only one. Second is the quality of service that you currently, take. Basically, a lot of facilities management, property management companies have invested in solutions. They have invested in technology. They have invested in processes that they can deploy across across sites, across locations, to be able to deliver certain level of services to you. I don't know how many estates, either residential, high-rise building, and so on and so forth, today, who have invested in prop tech applications that they can use to make requests, and requests come to them quickly, and a number of other things like that. These are things that FM companies or property management companies have invested in such a way that the quality of service, you can sit down in your room and boom, you make requests, okay, my tap is leaking, and so on and so forth. So the real issue is that from the residential perspective, you have a lot of people working from home now. And it was said the other time, infrastructure, internet, power, water, sewage system, and a number of other things are becoming, stressed out because people are working from home. There are children at home. People need to get certain things done. So the way the, corporate outsourcing is going to affect services is that, for me, if you put or you try to devise corporate outsourcing as a strategy, you will be able to benefit, from the economy of scale. So when you're looking at cost, in the real sense of it, you just need to calm down, like they say, the cost will really, really reduce over a period of time. Then when you're looking at quality of service, the cost, you'll also be able to get better quality of service. You have professional advice, because at the end of the day, if you look at a property, a property management company, before the facility managers, that is on site, you have several back-end opportunities that guy has. So the man you're seeing on site is not there alone. He has a lot. But if you employ a facility manager yourself for your estate, for example, all the guy has is his 8 years, 10 years, 15 years of experience to bring to the table. So that is one way that I think is going to, affect services going forward. And the same thing apply, to the offices, to our malls, recreational center, and a number of other things like that. So it's not doomed. It is going to, benefit, people who consider it. The biggest problem, and this is my final thought, the biggest problem around, outsourcing is that people want you to come and solve age-long problems, when you come there tomorrow. So we were spending 3 million naira monthly on diesel. Now, today that we have a facilities manager, our 3 million naira, must reduce. Forgetting that, the generator has not been serviced for the past 6 months. There are issues that are wrong with the generator. There are historical issues that the facility manager didn't bring on ground. So the facility manager comes and say, before we even start moving forward, let us first fix these historical problems. All right. And we can now begin to benefit, from the economy of scale. But you find out that clients say, even when I was running this thing myself, I was spending 3 million naira. Now that I've gotten a professional, I'm now spending 5 million naira, I'm now spending 6 million naira. No, just go. I will do this myself. So, clients and, people who do these things needs to have another perspective and another orientation about services. So the pandemic is not going to affect services. I think it's going to make services better if you design your strategy, very, very well. And you can see a lot of opportunities in the market, today that is already designed towards, the mood of the moment. Everybody knows that there is revenue crunch and a number of other things like that. So basically, it will affect, services. I think it's going to make them better because most of us, facilities managers and property managers, are beginning to redefine our process in the face of the reality of of the moment. So I think that's my thought about services going forward during the pandemic.
Yeah, so I'm just going to hold you on for a while because the services aspect of it is something of interest. Because when you look at it, a lot of people have oftentimes argued what's the contribution of services to the country's GDP. And they've also made the claims that other countries, as a matter of fact, have been able to thrive on services, especially with outsourcing and the outsourcing majorly, because outsourcing itself has become one of the strategic direction most companies are taking so that they can focus on their core ability or their core assets, and that itself makes a whole lot of sense. As a matter of fact, there is an association of outsourcing professionals. That one is one that we will need to be able to also explore, especially when we are dealing with outsourcing services in the real estate space. But if we're looking at part of the major concern, because COVID-19 has impacted, especially in most economies, so several economies in terms of an unemployment has risen to a level where, it was not predicted. So even the economic projections themselves definitely is not going to align with what they will expect, even beyond the major impact of coronavirus pandemic beyond this period. However, my own concern basically is this. If there is a situation where we are realizing that most people now are going to be in the survival mode, rather than them be able to explore other things that they will create in terms of luxury, and people, whether you want to believe it or not, a lot of people will imagine home ownership in Nigeria is more of a luxurious aspiration. Do we see that commercial real estates themselves are going to be the most badly hit because of COVID-19?
Well, very interesting question. But the truth of the matter is that we cannot take away the fact that, the entire real estate, industry is going to be affected or impacted negatively by real estate. We can try to preach, the bloom part of things, but it's definitely going to affect, things. So if we look at the commercial area, you look at the retail, you look at the office spaces, you look at the recreational centers. Everybody knows that, there had been, you also look at hospitality. The footfall in these areas over time has been reducing. Before even the pandemic broke, neighborhood stores were right at the jugulars of the malls and the retail centers. So before you walk, 10 meters, 100 meters from your home, you find a decent neighborhood store where you can push your trolley. So the footfall is affected, and also if you look at today, like I said, with the issue of Naira devaluation and a number of other things like that, the footfall are reducing, the FX rate is going up, and most of these commercial spaces are priced in FX. So it's almost looking like I am earning in Naira and I'm paying back in FX. And you can see that, that is responsible for the level of vacancies that you are seeing, and we was, for some time until the economy bounces back, begin to experience in the commercial space. So there is no doubt that, that is really, really going to be affecting, us. One of the strategies the commercial, particularly the retail folks were putting in place before the pandemic was making the retail centers, an movie. I can have, some very nice experience. It's a one-stop shop. I can do pretty much everything I need to do on a weekend. But reducing footfall, the issue of social distances, which is going to be with us for, for a while, are not going to push these things away suddenly. So if we are looking at the result of what is happening now and saying it is not that bad, what I tell people is that you need to look at the potential of what you would have been doing if things were not in this direction, because it's very easy for you to say, oh, I'm making this, I'm making that. So it is not really bad. But look at the potential of your business. If all these issues are not put in place, then you will have understand very clearly how huge the impact of the pandemic is. So for people. So the commercial space, it is really going to be eating really, really hard. The residential space is also not insulated. The truth of the matter is that people lost job. Are they going to pay their service charge or service charges? Are they going to pay their rent moving forward? So you will see some level of migration. And you can begin to see that in what is happening between Lekki Phase 1 and Ayabag, Bagada, and so on and so forth. You will see that there is a migration, from those Lekki Phase 1 and a number of other things to the decently closer to central business district areas like Bagada, Yaba, Maryland, and a number of places where people still consider very decent places to live on the island. So these are things that are driven pretty much by the realities of people's pockets and the earning and the economy that is happening around. So yes, it's going to really, really impact. But for the bloom side of it is that it is either you innovate or die. And you were talking about sharing strategy the other time. The truth of the matter is that pretty much we need to keep iterating, and platforms like this are the best places to find and to develop new ideas and to grow ideas. So it is not a big deal that people are sharing strategies. At the end of the day, that's the whole essence of a platform like this, of what they are doing. So the market at this point, it's about creating products. And when I mean product, I don't mean tangible product. I mean solutions. So for the commercial guys, what is the facility managers, or the property manager, what are you creating to meet their demand? For the recreational hospitality guys, what are you creating to meet their demand? For the residential guys, what kind of solutions are you creating to meet their demand? So for me, accessibility, affordability are two key things that needs to play in this area. And with that, you don't also need to, to cut down on the level of benefit or quality that people need to, needs to benefit from at the end of the day. And the final thought is that when you're looking at quality, when you're building products, one thing you need to look at is what exactly do people want to buy? I tell people this a lot of time. We build real estate, we build high rises and a number of other things like that. But hey, businesses are looking for agile spaces. They are looking for workstations. They are looking for places where they don't have to bother about the headache of, facilities managers, generators. They just want to go in, plug in, play, move. All right, I use it, I pay as you go. Those are solutions that are being created. And I think these are the kind of thinking that the market at this point, requires. So it is either you keep innovating and iterating or, die. Thank you.
Yeah, Shasa, it's a good thing you actually had mentioned this because Sabine, I've always said that the real estate industry does not exist on its own. It does not exist in a vacuum. The real estate industry, as a matter of fact, is also a plug-in industry where other industries themselves basically get part of their own values in also trying to deliver whatever services they have to their own end users. Because real estate, as we might look at it, of course, you and I know is quite diversified. If you're looking at the value chain, you have real estate applicability both in residential, you have in commercial, even within the commercial space, we have it differently. Because if you look at banks, banks need real estate in order for them to carry out their banking transactions. If you look at the oil and gas industry, the oil and gas industry needs real estate in order to carry out its own transactions. Even if you look at the space technology, it's also a form of real estate because manufacturing themselves have to key themselves into all this. Why do I bring this up? We see what the digital age has brought about, where we're beginning to have conversation around what the future of work is going to entail. And then you've mentioned two key words here. One is agile. We need to be able to create agile spaces that will basically make sense because as the sociological aspect of a lot of what would I would call civilization has to come to play. At the end of the day, a lot of us are beginning to see the way we react to the COVID-19 pandemic as more of a human expression rather than from a capitalistic approach to our own existence. So apparently, real estate professionals have to begin to factor all of this even in their own strategy and design at the end of the day, because the future of work is obviously here to stay, and things are definitely going to be redefined, along that line and along that thought pattern. And that is the beauty of actually having forums like this. And the second word you actually mentioned, perhaps I'll put that as a phrase, is accessibility and affordability. It's important that we look at the A+A, kind of equation in order for us to still be relevant in what we do as service providers. However, one of the things that I always know is this: for everything to thrive for things to thrive in any given estate, it's always collaboration that is going to be the key word to help us deliver to the end users at the end of the day. But there is no effective collaboration if the policy direction is working in an anathema position with that which the innovative display or innovative expressions of the players in the particular industry are engaged with. And that is going to lead me to Deepak to help us understand how important is real estate policy within this context of COVID-19 impact post, the pandemic.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Stephen. Am I on? Okay.
Yes, you are.
Policy is quite interesting that there's a lot of coordination going on right now in the real estate industry in Nigeria. And kudos to Lagos State for initiating a body to regulate real estate activities and businesses in Lagos. And real estate bodies are also coming up strongly. But in terms of the policies from the government itself, we want to put a focus more on policies and initiatives to help with social housing. Because the gap in the demand and the supply for real estate cannot be closed without the involvement of the government. Social housing itself will solve the accessibility for the low-income earners. No matter how much we come up with creative offerings with mortgages, it will never get to the low-income earners. It's only through social housing, which we can have the government playing a major leading role. We need to demand there have to be policies in line and initiatives directly to cater for that aspect. I would say that is one. Another policy that I would like that we expect to shape the real estate post-COVID is policies that can encourage private partnership between people that are interested in providing infrastructure. Because the major challenge we have in Nigeria, from my own perspective, is the infrastructural deficits. And this impacts largely on real estate. Look at Lagos, where many of us live and operate. It's difficult to get from one end to the other. And people say that in another 10 years, if things don't change, Lagos will be one of the most difficult places to live in, because you're going to just stop all around and you can't move, you can't run business. But infrastructure, we actually open up this place. Infrastructure will discongest some areas, Infrastructure will help developers to go into some other areas because their infrastructure to connect people from town to settling areas and can make us more creative and solve this problem. So for the policy direction, policies that will encourage a lot of private initiative, especially investment into infrastructure solutions that will real estate, and policies and initiatives that will help to support social housing across every state. Those are some of the initiatives that I would like and I will expect from the government. Thank you.
Yeah, but Dipo, are social housing, are they profitable? Because
Okay.
social housing, do we have to look at the bottom line nevertheless.
Yeah,
Is that supposed to be it's supposed to be just in the purview of the government, or obviously the public-private partnership model has to suffice?
Okay, yeah, for the social housing I'm talking about, I'm not talking about in respect of the private partnership model. The social housing, largely a major part of it will come from the government. That's why it's called social housing. It's not, I know right now from the federal government, the initiative, I was listening to the vice president not too long ago, and I was talking about the initiatives of where they want to build houses and where they are looking at a budget of 2.5 billion naira to build a mini house. Of course, it seems quite a little bit, I don't know how achievable it is, but initiatives like that are not taken. They are engaging developers, are not the big developers. They're going to ensure that the materials will be fabricated on site. They're going to use totally local materials. But we want to now look at this with sustainability and quality. So if you take it a little bit up, it's achievable. But that's not going to be an initiative of a private person that is running a business. It can support it in its own, but it's going to be a major initiative from the government. Because if you really want to attack this issue of deficit from the extreme low income earners, we can never do anything much for them except to go into the social housing. So the private partnership arrangement I was talking about is more for the infrastructure. That's not a social enterprise. That is strictly business. But it's just engaging and helping governments provide infrastructure while they get their money back, either through toll or some other means.
Yeah, Diko, sorry, I'm going to still put you under the spotlight because I just got a question, and the question basically is asking, perhaps we need one or two clarification with regards to that. The housing deficit that we have in the country, who is majorly impacted? Because is it obviously more on the poor, will I say, poor earners than it is on people who are the middle class to the elite?
Okay, I would say it has more impact on the poor earners. It has more impact on the poor earners. For the middle class, and because the middle class is also growing very fast. In fact, that's why some of us are still in business, because we have a growing middle class, that their earnings is growing as they also progress with their life and they're able to access some funds, access some mini mortgage, access some loan in the bank, and be able to do some of these things. But for the poor end, they don't have access to all of those things. Even some of them don't have access to basic infrastructure where they live, talk less of housing, good housing. So the deficit is much more at that end. And if you look at the statistics of people that buy, we have like a circle. There's a saying that about the premium class invests a percentage of their income into real estate. So the premium class gets it and they invest it back and they rent it out and they go. Some of them have a strategy to invest across different sectors of the real estate, across different, based on their plan. Also, the money is just moving in a circle. So that's why I personally believe that to reach that low end income, they can't afford it. And no matter how much initiative you try to give to them, you still have to introduce a form of a social housing to solve it.
Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. As a matter of fact, because it's obviously an ongoing. I call it more of a circular economy, where we have to be able to use with what we have to feed into the process to ensure that sustainability is actually upheld. But one of my major concerns, I'm going to go to Shola right now, because I think in a presentation we have looked at some area in terms of payment by installment, and we also explored the aspect where we realized that you are creating different potpourri of payment structures that obviously will help out in terms to still maintain liquidity. However, before the COVID-19 pandemic, I don't think we've actually had a very viral, a very dynamic and I wouldn't want to use the word resourceful in order not to sound indictful of the mortgage sector, subsector as the case is. But in my own experience and my own research, we've not seen where the mortgage industry is comparable to what is obtainable in certain countries. In certain African countries, by the way, and I know in one of the panels that we had 2 days ago, one of the panelists actually made mention of that, that as a matter of fact, the mortgage industry in Kenya, if I recollect correctly, actually has a patronage level of over 70%. But in Nigeria, it's less than 30%. So how far can we go with this? We've actually had this kind of below average mark before the COVID-19 has happened. What do you see the mortgage industry post COVID-19? Would this be a wake up call, or we will just have to look at another decade before we get it right with the mortgage industry?
I think it's definitely a wake-up call, and it's been, because we've seen some interest even with mortgage companies approaching developers right now, to see how there can be some sort of synergy. So definitely there's been, maybe COVID, I would say, has been a catalyst, to see how people can benefit from it. And then there's been a lot more demand, because if we're looking at just our own client portfolio, in the last 6 months, we've had a lot of demand with people wanting to use mortgage to purchase properties. So obviously that is going to create an avenue for the mortgage company to see how more people can access, their services. One of the challenges that we've come to find out is mostly in documentation and the requirements that they expect from the potential home buyer or investor. So some of those mortgage companies are now looking at flexibility, having conversations with developers, because I think in the past, what they require is that they have to see the building standing, before they can, do a mortgage plan for a client. But now they're looking at, developers are doing off plan, because the challenges with that is that a lot of buyers they'll key in, at the infant stage of the development, and they're able to pay over time, like I mentioned, 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months. But then if a mortgage company is demanding that they want to see a fully completed building, it's, definitely will limit the options for people who are looking to buy off plan. So now they're looking at, actually keying into and working with developers that do off plan, but then just working with the developers portfolio and ensuring that the brand, will deliver. Because part of the issue is also, okay, if we release the money to you, what would happen? Would you deliver when you say you're going to deliver? So there's still that trust factor as well. But I think they're more receptive to working with different developers now to see how they can synergize their efforts and ensure that they meet the demand of the consumer, who are the people that, really looking to take advantage of the services that they provide. So I think really COVID has definitely created that avenue for, to look at more options and more strategies to serve the consumer.
Well, I'm glad it's, I mean, you've actually even thrown more light with regards to that. Obviously, it looks like some of the practices we have as industry practitioners need to submit to the higher calling of digital engagement, which technology as well as social media has brought about, because people are becoming much more aware. So you do no longer buy houses in ignorance. Comparative prices and analysis can be done at the punch of a button. And so it's important that our key policy shapers or holders, and of course, trailblazers in this industry have to respond to a lot of these trends that would demand effective services at a cost that is not just affordable, but at a cost that will still not be detrimental to the business owner. Because at the end of the day, whether as developers or sellers or retailers, we are in business to make money. We obviously want to make money because it's out of those profits that we basically also patronize all the services. And I'm hoping that Carol is still online, because I see she is. That if you are, Carol, can you kindly please unmute your audio, because I have a question I want to ask you, because it also deals with some of the issues we are looking in terms of the impact of post-COVID-19. And the question which actually came in here, which I strongly believe that is good for you to actually respond to, because people like Chesson have actually been making comments with regards to agile spaces. And of course, some of also our panelists are sent to say, okay, agility as it is, how different it starts from project management, what exactly it has to do in terms of after how COVID has impacted on us negatively, how do I deal with the interest rate, and then you have inflation, decrease commercial real estate demand. Now, using Agile, how can real estate company manage these changes while making profit? Because you see, even this person who sent in this question, perhaps may not be denying the fact that Agile perhaps might have one of the saving grace for them. And then the key point there, the man ended up with, or the lady ended up with, is profit. How do we still make profit while adopting Agile mindset? Over to you, Carol.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I think from the point they've made is to say, how exactly do we ensure that Agile delivers value for us? So yes, there may be a decline in terms of demand for commercial real estate on a long lease perspective, but as I think Bolaji mentioned,
Okay, Carol, let's quickly go on a break. As soon as we come back, we'll continue with your comment. I think we're having the same challenges with our technical backbone in the country. Let's just go on a short break, and when we're back, Carol will continue. Or an ad break, one of our sponsors, not necessarily a short break. right, Carol, I see that you're back. You want to unmute yourself. Thank you, Dikwa. Thank you, Wale, and thank you, Sheson, for still keeping tune. We are just going to have to hold the fort till we get Carol back. Carol, you can unmute yourself and then continue with the thought you were actually sharing earlier on before we had some very on agile happening that happened. Okay, can Carol hear me still?
Okay, yes, Stephen.
All right, welcome back. Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, these are part of the issues we're talking about. All right. So as I was saying, you know, it is important that there has to be a mix. So there will definitely be companies that will be looking at commercial investments for long leases. Those will still remain, but on the flip side, you have to be more flexible in the options that are available, and look for options that help to reduce costs for the business operations, and also at the same time increase value for customers as well. So I think what consumers will want a bit more now is flexibility. Some may opt for short-term leases. You need to be able to provide that, you know, for them. And by so doing, you are able to reduce the cost of the operating cost of the business itself, and also provide what the consumer needs at that point in time. He also talked about modular spaces as well, which is a very important point. We have to design these spaces in such a way that it's easy to manipulate them and make them easier for use. And you can shrink them or scale them up or bring it down, as needed by the customer and by the client. I think having a diverse portfolio of these options, whether short or long-term lease, will help in driving down the operating cost of the business and still give the consumers the kind of flexibility that they need in terms of usage for commercial real estate or for residential real estate. Those are just my thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Carol. I think that itself helps, and I'm very sure the person who asked the question is very happy that you've actually helped to address that. So it's the issue of strategy and all that will help us drive home a lot of this point. But please, I'm not still going to let you go because I understand you still have one more assignment to do for Reader 2020. Nevertheless, I think I'll just quickly want to ask Shola before she, I understand she has some other things to attend to, and that's the beauty of virtual conferences, isn't it? We can actually multitask severally, as the case is, from the comfort of our office or home office, depending from where we're operating. Shola, the question I have here is just this, and I'm just going to read that out as if I'm on television reading out the scripts, and this is how it goes. How can real estate stakeholders, developers, wholesalers, retailers adequately close the gap between demand and supply for effective gains of the real estate industry going forward? So this question for you is just a way for you to tell us that in terms of your own summarization. Over to you, Sean.
Okay. So, I mean, to really answer the question, to close the gap, I mean, there's so many different things that we have to look at, in order to be able to close the gap. And some of the things I'd mentioned, and some of my colleagues here have also mentioned, but it's really has to do with, accessibility and affordability as well. So even for real estate developers, we also want to ensure that we're building, or we have products that people can afford. So we have to think about different strategies to ensure that that happens. So looking at even the supply end, the raw materials that we use in building, to even access to financing and creating more of an ease for, to close a transaction. So talking about, serving as a liaison between consumers and the mortgage company or other, financial sectors. I think those are ways that we have to try to bridge the gap. And then also looking at how, can the government come in to support, I think it was Mr. Chison that mentioned, or was it Mr. Dikwa? I'm not sure now, that mentioned infrastructure, in providing those resources that we readily need, to create an avenue for real estate developers to be able to offer their products and their services, because infrastructure is a big part. So it's not only that, people are looking for the ability to land or to build it, but then the infrastructure, the road networks, electricity, water, those other things that, sort of work together to complement what we do, would definitely help that, when we're talking about affordability, because those are the things that make the cost of this real estate as a whole, go up, and then, it makes it, unaccessible to a certain class in the market. And we find that the people within the bracket that cannot afford, to purchase a property are way higher than those that can afford it. So we need to definitely look for avenues for more affordable housing. I mean, I think that would definitely bridge the gap between supply and demand. And then also, like I said, financing, and then, infrastructure, and more, favorable regulations when it comes to government regulations, and then working with the real estate sectors.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Adeshola Bello, the Executive Director of Business Development for Landway Investment. It's interesting you've actually helped us to wrap that thought in this regard. And I want to say thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a great honor. We look forward to having you again as God wills and gives us life and strength and energy and good health. The fact that we are all COVID-19 free is a major big plus. It's not even a death sentence, but I mean, these things happen. That sometimes you just don't want to carry certain crosses. You just allow it to go. Thank you very much, Shola.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. I'm going to come to Shesom. Shesom, it's for me, part of the issues with regards to real estate has to do with real estate communication. Real estate communication post-COVID-19 is an aspect we need to see, because the more aware I am about certain things or certain availability of not just properties, but different options as well as services, and then financing and funds and gateways, the better for me to be able to make certain decisions. And those decisions will come from a place of being informed. If we know that a lot of one of the negative impact of COVID-19 has to do with cutting of budget, especially marketing communications or PR budget, we do not see it as a way where post-COVID-19 itself, as regards to real estate industry, will definitely not be able to take advantage of even the emerging trends that will come beyond this period. Should we see an advocacy or an appeal or recommendation for marketing communications or PR budget to actually take out more in terms of that strategic communication?
All right, thank you very much for that question. I think what is important is that the way things are currently is just is interesting. Yes, we've had the situation where everybody considers, the marketing, department as the call center, or the communications department as a call center. But in a situation where you are struggling for the limited pie in the market, you also know that you need to be not just top of mind of your customer, you also need to be a brand that is trusted and loved by the customer, because people don't buy for people they don't know. That's very straightforward. So advocacy, I don't think so. I think what is important is that marketing communications people needs to start demonstrating value to business. And I say that because of the position that I sit. I work with a lot of, consultants, and, we hire people. And a lot of time when I see metrics that marketing communications people, set for themselves, I just smile, because it looks like the reality is not hitting down on us yet. If you need to make demands for a certain level of responsibility or budget that is very scarce, then you need to demonstrate the value that money is going to come back to the company. I think that is one thing that is missing. So long as you can, from a marketing communications perspective, demonstrate to your management or your client that you see this 1 million naira, 2 million naira that you're giving me is going to return XYZ over a period of time. I don't think anybody argues, with that. What I have seen, let me put it that way, is a lot of Markham people running away from that responsibility. Oh, I don't work in your sales department. I don't work in sales. So long as I bring in the lead, I've done my job. No, you've not done your job. All right. And it's one beautiful thing about working in AlphaMate, for example, because everybody thinks like a business person. All right. So if I know that the sales guys will be the one, standing in the way of my next budget, I call the head of sales. Okay, what's up now? How is it coming? What's the issue? All right. Then we have a conversation, because my success is reliant on a success. If enough revenue is not coming into the company, there is no way that I can get, my next budget. It is as simple as straightforward as that. You see, it doesn't make sense. Yes, marketing is investment, but it doesn't make sense, if you are not very careful, even if the company decides to go get a loan or go get some kind of debt to fund marketing. How is it going to come back to the company? Equity. Hey, that's long term, man. We need to survive. I joke about this to my team. I say, you see, you need to be alive before you are using makeup. All right. Equity is, makeup, makeover. Yeah, everybody is beautiful. But you need to, have blood and water running in your system. And that is revenue. All right. Cash is king. So if you are not driving revenue from a marketing communications perspective, and you are looking at, building brand loyalty and a number of other things like that, I think you're going to have a very tough time, talking to people. So the new thinking that marketing communication people need to put on at this point is how to balance that. How do I build, loyalty, love, affection, trust for my brand, and ensure that, there is a translation of that into, the bottom line of the company. I think when people have that perspective, both from a communication, public relation, activation, advertising perspective, we will, have, a seat at the table. Marketing comes, people need to start thinking like business people. All right? Gig go. What goes in, what comes out. I think that is a position. So there is no need for advocacy. Don't appeal to anyone. Don't beg anyone. Just demonstrate value. I tell people, money always runs after value. So it is when you don't have value that you start running after money. All right. So demonstrate value. Money will follow you from a marketing communications perspective. I think that's one thing I would like, every marketing communication person, either you're in real estate or any other, industry. All right. Watching this to take home. So if your business strategy requires that you build brand love and a number of other things, by all means. But if you are in a cash crunch situation, hey, cash is king, right? You need to look at things from top line, revenue, middle line, cost. You need to talk to your engineers. You need to talk to your construction guys, all right? So don't begin to look at, I need low cost housing. What's the engineer doing? How are they producing? All right, what's going into cost? Because if the cost is high, definitely, your selling price is going to be high. And you have to put your eye on the bottom line, which is the profit. All right, selling price minus, cost price equals to profit. So any marketing communications person that do not have those, three things looking and just talking about, I will build impressions for you, I will get you engagement. I think those eras, or those era rather, are no longer, with us with the current situation that we find ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, Shason, please pardon me, because the one word that you used there that still is something that I would like you to further expand on is the issue of trust. So the trust has been, it's like we find ourselves in a situation in this country where there is a trust deficit. A lot of businesses, even in terms of payment by installment, is for different services or different housing assets, comes in with the issue of trust. How do you, if you are not well known enough, how much do you build trust? Will the trust basically just be focused on customer experience, or it has to be a case where one has to learn the balancing act with regards to this, because I can only trust the name that I know, and then of course further patronize that which I've actually had a good experience of. The trust deficit itself. What is it? Would it be a case of the chicken on the egg? Which one comes first in this regards? If it's not trust, then the money. If it's not the money, then the trust.
All right. Like I said, people just remember the last time you bought something. All right. You don't buy from a stranger. That's the truth. Just imagine somebody just buzzing you on WhatsApp and say, I have this house, and you just see the logo. It doesn't even look like what you have seen before. You are on your heels. You just run away. All right. So trust is a very, very major issue, particularly in the real estate industry, and we cannot run away from that. And there is no other way to build trust. I tell people this, all right? Public relations, all right, as part of, the marketing communication, function is what I call do good, tell people about it. But first, you must do good, all right? Once you do good, then you can go and tell people about it. And you can begin to earn the trust of your customers by the time that they see that you are doing good, all right? So now the issue now applies, okay, I don't have a lot of money, all right? And how do I build trust to be able to get people to buy things from me? I tell people, set your objective. That's why the general SMART is there. What is realistic for you, all right? So what is realistic in terms of return, either in revenue or in trust and so on and so forth, is what you need to look at. You can try that strategy. The other strategy you can try is that, okay, know that I know I have something to deliver, all right? I will invest. And I tell people, this is how marketing communication, sorry, we are not in the...
No, it's okay, because you see, Sheson, just a moment. The reason why, because of obviously this is also part of my own primary industry, and I know that it's not so much, okay, I will use the word advocacy. It's not so much of trying to favor the marketing communication or the communication strategy industry as the case is, but I know that it has to be a balancing act. And so the marketing communication experts and professionals who are listening into this have a very important task to still ensure that major of the communications have to take cognizance of the reality at hand, but at the same time that there is a need for them to be able to create a very agile environment whereby, just like you've mentioned, I have to get to sales, the head of sales, and ask the head of sales, listen, what has been the figure so far? Why has this not worked? What is the revenue stream so far? How do we work together to make things work out fine? I need to reach out to the engineering department so that we understand that some of these marketing communication strategies do not work in silos. They do not work, in a vacuum. It is all an integrated approach to it. So I'm very sure even the top C-level professionals listening to all of this conversation will begin to understand and appreciate how important marketing communication is in helping us, bridge the gap, and at the same time ensuring that our communication strategy takes cognizance of what is going on in the world today, so that at the end of the day, still the bottom line itself is what we are looking at.
Yeah, fantastic. I think you've said it all. All right. For me, like I rightly said, marketing investment always goes this way. It starts high, no doubt, but over time, by the time you build that trust, you start seeing your investment go down, except maybe when you now launch a new product again and so on and so forth. So there needs to be that understanding, and marketing communications people needs to be able to demonstrate that to to their top management, to their clients, and a number of people, and say, see, this is how we are going to grow. So depending on what your strategy is, I'm going to be losing some money over the next 3 years, but I'm going to break even at this point, and it's going to peak at this point. Or you know what, I'm just going to start on a break even level, and I'm going to peak at this point. The marketing communications person needs to know their number. You must know what goes into your numbers. Forget about, I tell people, marketing is the fundamental 4 Ps. See, if you don't get that product right, and you don't get the pricing right, forget about place and promotion. Forget about it, because you have not just delivered a product that the customers can buy. It is when you have those two things perfect, then you can now look at it. Okay, where am I going to meet the people to sell this thing to, and how am I going to tell them about this good that I have done? So if you don't get these things right, you will just be pouring water on the duck's back, and that's why you see people come with what I call vanity metrics, such as we hit 10,000 impressions. No, I'm not saying it is bad, but we appeared in 10 newspapers and so on and so forth. Good for you. All right, but hey, how is that impacting overall? All right, so it is not bad, but you must be able to take things beyond. Oh, if we are going to take this space in a newspaper, it would have been costing us 500,000 naira, but with public relations, those days are over in the Marcom industry. Nobody listens to all those things again, because the reality of the moment is not there is no patience. All right, we are living with sweat and blood. So I beg, just keep the niceties of impressions and newspaper cutouts and nice billboards and so on and so forth. You must be able to be strategic. I think that's what is important.
All right, thank you very much, Sesan. I mean, I'm very sure all of the marketing professionals are looking at you and saying to themselves that, hope he understands that he's also in this industry. But there's nothing as good as truth, as well as naked truth, to help us to know the kinds of clothes we are supposed to put on at the end of the day, nevertheless. Because I know that Dikko earlier when he was speaking in his presentation, because this particular panel is very key in helping us see how we're able to wrap up our past 2 days in a perspective that can help us now formulate better strategy or review the strategies that we've had before this time, and then see exactly how we can implement and measure. And so, Dikko, please pardon me. I'm going to ask you this question also, because this has to also deal with the issue of mentorship. In your presentation, you've made us understand that you had worked with Mr. Adeshope, if I remember very well, and then you had left. This was like 3 years ago, or you were with him for that period of time, and he has taught you everything that you know. Now, we also know yesterday that Madam Uzo had made mention of certain factors that has to do with the human resources, the professional capacity that the real estate industry has. And knowing the fact that COVID-19 has even brought more negative impact, so to speak, in terms of where we stand with regards to human resources. How do you see the role that mentorship will obviously play in order for us to get our feet back into where we are supposed to be, and then perhaps also thrive beyond the survival mode?
Okay, thank you so much, Stephen, for that question. I worked with Mr. Adeshope for about 10 years plus. So I left like 3 years ago. So we started Grad Rock then. And so for me personally, I started with him as a young man. Say young man though. It was an avenue to learn passion, to learn structure, process, to see a young man trying to do something very new and interesting, trying to get results and create platform for people, and the energy. And the industry, of course, taking shape at different levels. So I learned a lot about the industry, from the industry knowledge to business development, to sales, to construction. So starting out, it gave me a leverage, and because I've been a part of a team that raised millions for projects. I've been a part of a team that developed and launched a project, and I've seen the good side, the not so good side. I've seen where the gaps could be, and the like. So there was a background I was coming into with the industry with, and so in 3 years we were able to achieve some level of movement in our own space with our objective sets, in addition to some other additional trainings I did. So I personally am an apostle of mentorship. So I feel that mentorship is very critical for the growth and transformation of businesses in Nigeria. I believe that businesses in Nigeria will be a critical part to transforming and delivering the poverty situation of the country. We speak so much about the deficit and affordability. If people have good jobs, they make good money, they will want to live in good environments.
Absolutely.
If people improve and make progress in their space of work and business and make more money, they want to upgrade their environment. We have seen people that move from one location to another location to better location, even this post-COVID period. We have seen people that bought their own first homes during this period. And so if you have people that want to run business and successful business in Nigeria, it's good that they look out for people that have been successful, maybe in that industry, maybe in another industry, that they can submit themselves to mentorship, and they can learn from their own mistakes, even though you are still going to make your own mistakes. But it's like you have a ladder and a shoulder to ride upon. So it's very critical. A few weeks ago, I just hosted a webinar online to talk about how people can grow and grow a sustainable business in Nigeria. And sharing my own little practical experience and knowledge in the past 3 years of running a business in Nigeria, despite my experience. So I know that people are able to pick one or two few points. So I feel that experience is very critical, and mentorship is also very critical in the transformation and growth of businesses in Nigeria. We have a lot of small businesses in Nigeria that can really grow bigger or can be more sustainable and be able to do so much more for the society, provide more jobs, employ more people, train more people to be able to go ahead and provide more jobs. And gradually, we are transforming the economy. Gradually, we are closing that gap of poverty. And in the real estate industry, yes, because it's an industry that is not too structured, it's a big structure, different players. Agility itself, I can see a lot of it in this industry. We have people that trying to run stuff, trying to make things happen, despite the fact that it's tough, despite that the capital is not there, the market is not there, and they're making headway. So I feel with much more better guidance, then it can be better and the growth can be much more spontaneous. Thank you.
I had to unmute myself so that I do not distract your talk flow. I want to say a big thank you very much, Mr. Ladipo Idowu Agida. Mentorship, as a matter of fact, has actually been a major aspect in terms of how much we want to be able to minimize the cost of learning. A lot of people oftentimes say experience is the best teacher, although some people may argue with that and say that mentorship is actually one of the best, not necessarily a shortcut, but a leapfrogging strategy for you to not learn by experience, which sometimes might not go the way you expect. So we see how important it is, especially with this post-COVID-19 era, in closing and merging the gap, as the case is. And then it's so interesting because right now, I want to say a big thank you to yourself, Mr. Ladipo Idowu Agida, for being with us here. We still have one last item on our program for today before we wrap up the whole of the event. And then I also want to say a big thank you to Mr. Sheson Ogunyoye. 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 Sheson, thank you so very much for all of your insights and thought leadership. That has even helped us to be able to appreciate the fact that marketing communication needs to respond to the reality of the day in order for us to be able to ensure that we're working with every single unit in any organization to make sure we deliver value at the end of the day. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. We've wrapped up that panel. Now we're going into our award presentation. And I'm very much excited to say that we are going to be announcing 4 great awards this evening. And they are the Special Recognition Award for Innovation in Public Service, the Young Real Estate Person of the Year, and the Real Estate Man of the Year, as well as the Special Recognition Award for contributions to the growth of the real estate industry. And ladies and gentlemen, you and I know that this is how this whole thing happens. First and foremost, we are going to announce, for me, it is the Young Person, pardon me a moment, Young Real Estate Person of the Year Award, which recognizes the individual that has consistently contributed to the advancement of the Nigerian real estate industry through innovation, stakeholder engagement, and intellectual growth. The nominees are Tayo Odunsi, Jide Adekola, and Ruth Obi. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll be calling on Caro Aribiyi to please kindly help me announce who the recipient of this award, which is Young Real Estate Person of the Year.
All right, thank you, Stephen. So I'm very happy to be here and honored to be presenting this award to the winner of this prestigious award. And the winner is, Stephen, let's do a drum roll.
Well, I don't know. You have the secret envelope. I don't have it.
Okay, so and the winner is Tayo Odunsi, the CEO of Northcourt Real Estate.
Wonderful. I know that you're saying this. We're so excited that you've won. It's like Northcourt seems to be taking as many awards this time around. Radio 2020, all of this is based on merit. So it is what it is. Thank you so very much, Carol, for this announcement, so that people do not think that I was the one who perhaps must have put something under the carpet. This is obviously the Young Real Estate Person of the Year, which goes to Mr. Tayo Odunsi. Congratulations, Tayo. Thank you very much. Carol, I think you've done a good job for me there. I'm going to be calling on our next award, which is the Special Recognition Award for contributions to the growth of the real estate industry. It's an award which celebrates the individual that has demonstrated immense professionalism and expertise at consistently raising the bar in the Nigerian real estate market. And to help me to deliver this award is no other person than Mr. Oladipo Idowu Agida, the MDCO Drag Rock Real Estate. Mr. Oladipo, over to you. Who is the winner of this year's award?
Okay, thank you so much, and it's such a great honor to present the award for special recognition for the contribution to the growth of the real estate industry in Nigeria. And this award is given to Mr. Bolaji Edu, the MDC of Pro Nigeria. Mr. Bolaji Edu, congratulations.
Whoa, congratulations, Mr. Bolaji Edu. This award goes to you. Is it in the house? Because I know you are steady. You know, it's not easy being a managing director. Oftentimes, you have to make certain key decisions. Congratulations, Mr. Bolaji, for being the recipient of the Special Recognition Award for contributions to the growth of the real estate industry. And certainly, this is going to be getting to you physically, though we are not having this on a real life situation. Congratulations, sir. Then I'm going to be calling on the. Okay, I have the next award, which is the Real Estate Man of the Year. The Real Estate Man of the Year is an award that celebrates the individual that has distinguished himself over the last 1 year, has been passionate over the growth and advancement of the Nigerian real estate industry through active project development, public sector engagement, and youth mentorship. Here we are talking about youth mentorship. And it gives me great delight to invite Mrs. Toke Benson Awoyinka, who is a special advisor to the Executive Governor of Lagos State on housing, to actually help me present this award. And the recipient happens to be who, madam?
Good afternoon. I'm pleased to announce Brigadier General Tunde Rees as the Real Estate Man of the Year, and I hereby present the award. And thank you for doing great things in the real estate industry. We're proud of you. We pray that you continue to do us proud in Lagos as a state where we lead real estate developments in the country. Congratulations.
Oh, congratulations, sir. This is the award, live and direct. This is such a beautiful thing. I know that he himself is excited. We are going to be presenting it to him live and direct. But for me, this is the biggest fish of today's event. And I'm so excited because I know that Lagos State government has been doing such a wonderful thing for us. And I hope that Carol is still very much on ground, because she's going to be announcing this particular award for me. Sometimes, you know, we started off with the women, you know, the coloration to all of this, because in real estate, we promote diversity. At this point in time, we are also certainly going to do this wonderful, wonderful honors. I just want to find out, is Carol still there, please? Carol, can I hear your voice? Hello, Carol, are you there? All right. Is Mr. Dipo there? Oladipo, you're there, Mr. Oladipo Idowu Adino.
Yes, please.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're going to be helping me to present this special recognition for innovation in public service. And this has been awarded to individual who has led the way in innovation in public sector, especially in the real estate sector. And then I would like to quickly just make this quick, brief comment. She is a legal practitioner that is grounded in different areas of law profession, ranging from insurance law, including underwriting policy risk and claims management. And she possesses expertise in litigation, probate, and land matters. She's, as a matter of fact, a graduate of the prestigious Lagos State University, where she graduated in the degree of law, and then afterwards was called into the bar in 1990. She's further challenged herself in forging partnerships with Benga, Afolabi, Benson and Co., and Lennox and Blair Estates, and Washwife venturing into oil and gas law and consultancy. Having worked in different sectors, which includes, of course, the telecoms industry, she's also been a woman that has defined herself with this nature of vibrancy, with which she brings to everything that she does, especially when it has to do with what we know real estate is all about. She's armed with experience in policy making implementation and was part of the team that crafted the development agenda for Western Nigeria and Dawn, that's 6 pillars of development for Western Nigerians, and fits into the peculiarity of the West as its own peculiar region. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great delight, Dipo, that the person who is receiving this award is no other person than the special advisor on housing to the executive governor of Lagos State. And that is Mrs. Adejoke Benson Awoyinka. Do you want to say a word to her before I bring our award to her?
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. And it's in the public. I was on a radio towards advancing this. For people like you in the public space, we are assured that gradually we are going to overcome this housing deficit problem, and we are going to help everyone that to be able to have a roof over their head. Thank you so much on behalf of Business Day, Thinkmint, and Radar. We present you this award. Thank you.
Well, I know that this is a virtual award presentation, so it comes with its own unique frame. It comes with its own unique interest, you know. And I will be glad to call on the Thinkmint team. I know they are there with you physically. They are there, flesh and blood. I hope people are maintaining social distance, and then you've definitely sanitized your hands. But you don't need to wear face masks because I think our churches and mosques are now opening fulsomely, according to the announcement by the executive governor of Lagos State. So we are free, and we're glad that Lagos State has actually demonstrated leadership, especially when it has to do with emergency management. But I'm going to be handing over to you, madam, because you have some remarks and closing remarks to make for us. There's no better way to make sure that this event just wraps up in this way. Over to you, madam.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Stephen, please. We're here to give her the award. So can we?
Yes, I'm aware. Yeah, so that is the reason why I was looking out for you. But apparently, it looks like that. Madam, is she doing social distancing at all? Okay, no more social distancing, so she's free.
She's trying. She's
okay,
trying.
All right.
We checked her when she was coming in, so I think we are both safe.
Oh, that is great. Temperature is perfect, and every other thing is done well. So, I mean, on behalf of the Thinkmint, I know that Dipo has actually made the announcement. And then we wanted a situation where this had to be a unique aspect of our program. We are obviously presenting to her. So please, can we see that live and direct where you are doing the presentation, so that she knows that the award is not virtually alone, but you can feel it in concrete nature.
Thank you. I'd like to present this award. I think all protocols observed to Mrs. Toke Benson Awoyinka. Considering our innovative ideas for the Nigerian real estate market. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Thinkmint. I appreciate this. I appreciate this, and I look forward to growing the industry, doing everything that we can. You know, Lagos leads, others follow. We have come up with this development for real estate. We are actually amending our laws now so that it can be all encompassing. We wanted to satisfy the norms of the day. Things are changing in the world, and we don't want to be lagging behind. We want Lagos to lead the way, and that's why we're doing everything that we're doing. I thank Business Day for this beautiful award. I thank you for this recognition, and I hope to continue to lead the way when it comes to the brain behind everything that we're doing in Lagos, and we hope to continue this partnership as long as we're here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. I'm going to be asking the managing partner of who are the major organizers of this event in partnership with Business Day, that is Madam Imelda, to please give a wrap up, and then we might obviously be calling this a day after the 3 days being online. What to you, Imelda?
Okay, Stephen. Stephen, so we have to present the award to
the governor.
Oh, yes, please.
So she has to pick that up as well. Yeah, so that they know that the awards are very true as it is, and then it's not just only virtually. So, madam, you're actually wearing 2 caps, and I hope that your hands are not too full, because it looks like you're going to be carrying 2 wonderful trophies home today, ma. Not all for you, one for Oga and one for you, ma. Over to you, Milda.
Okay. Thank you. So, so I would do that through her device. On behalf of the board members of Thinkmint Nigeria, would like to present the award to the Executive Governor of Lagos State for his tremendous contributions to the state.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the Governor of Lagos State, I hereby accept about real estate, having led in the state, and he's more committed to making sure that that housing deficit that we have in Lagos becomes a thing of the past. So on behalf of Mr. Governor, I accept this award. Thank you, Business Day. Thank you, Thinkmint. We would continue this partnership, and we hope to grow the real estate industry together. Thank you.
You're welcome, madam. Congratulations. I envy you at this point in time, because I mean your hands are full. All my hands are just full of pen and papers, you know. But I'm very sure that it's an award well deserving, and of course for yourself and the governor, because so much is going on in the real estate industry. And Lagos, like you rightly said, Lagos leads while others follows. And so with such leadership as embodied by the executive governor of Lagos State, it's also important that we also recognize the fact that he has a team of people who are so much more qualified as well to make sure they deliver on the promises and to take Lagos to the next level. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
So I'll be calling on Imelda. Imelda, I'm very sure madam wouldn't mind, because now that we are there, let Lagos State obviously just wrap this up for us. Then just your concluding comments, and then we will call it a day.
Thank you very much. Imelda, we actually do appreciate your coming over here. We see that you're doing great things here, and we would partner with you any way we can. We're going to continue driving the narrative around the real estate industry. We're going to make sure that we grow this industry. We're going to make sure that we conform with global best practices to make sure that Lagos becomes an investment destination in Nigeria and in Africa. Right now, yes, we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, but we're going to be upping our game, and we're going to lead while others follow in Lagos. So thank you very much for what you're doing. And we hope to see you again next year.
Yes, next year.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, everyone. It's been exciting 3 days of great content, great conversations. Thank you to all our partners, to all our speakers. Thank you to the Lagos State government. Thank you, Ma, for REDA 2021. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you so very much. On behalf of Thinkmint Nigeria, the organizers of REDA 2020, and of course, in partnership with Business Day newspapers, name remains Stephen. Ipalibol Lawson. Please do watch Business Matters on NTA every Tuesday from 7:30. I'm so much excited about the fact that the real estate industry, with all of the thought leadership we've shared here today, definitely carries the beacon of hope. And then with Lagos State government in partnership, we obviously will begin to create models and see exactly how some of the best practices we hear about in other developed clients will be implemented in our own different environments in order for us to be able to provide housing solutions that will meet everybody's needs. Thank you so much one more time, and God bless you. Please keep safe, keep maintaining social distance, keep using your sanitizer, and keep keeping healthy. Please do not pass the virus. Ensure that you keep safe. Bye-bye for now. Until we see you again, God bless you and keep you.